Chapter 343. As Qin Wentian watched Yunmengyi depart, his heart couldn't help but be in a state of chaos. Yunmengyi was as beautiful as a snow lotus on a mountain of ice. It was impossible for Qin Wentian to not be moved by her actions. After all, he was a hot-blooded young man who had yet to experience the pleasures between a man and a woman. However, his state of heart was already extremely tough, hence he was naturally able to control himself. This Yunmengyi was becoming more and more of an enigma, blocking his vision. After contemplating for a moment, Qin Wentian closed his eyes and continued his cultivation. He needed to have as many trump cards as he could before the ranking battle of the Heavenly Fate rankings began, to contend against the demon-level geniuses of Grand Xiao. Early the next morning, several transcendent powers in Ginkgo received invitations from the great solar Qin clan, inviting the younger generations of their Qin clan for a gathering. And this matter was caused by the young master of the Ouyang aristocrat clan, Ouyang Guangsheng. It was rumored that Ouyang Guangsheng was incomparably audacious. He actually personally went to the great solar Qin clan to challenge them, wanting to spar with the younger generations of the great solar Qin clan. Hence, the great solar Qin clan invited several transcendent powers over. Other than the Ouyang aristocrat clan, there were also the Shi clan of Ginkgo, the Hua clan and the Pil Emperor Hall of the Moon Continent, the Wang clan of the War Continent, and the Swallow Swordsman. This caused many to be startled, because the Qin clan's invitation this time around had a deeper meaning. In the 9 continents of Grand Xia, there were a total of 36 transcendent powers. And among them, the 9 strongest transcendent powers were also known by the public. These 9 transcendent powers were as follows: Ginkgo, Venerate Heaven's Sect, Qin Clan, Shi Clan, Moon Continent, Pil Emperor Hall, Hua Clan, War Continent, Wang Clan, Azure Continent, Ouyang Aristocrat Clan, Demon Continent, Sky Demon Sect, Swallow Continent, Swallow Swordsman. Among them, Ginkgo was the strongest, with the Moon Continent second. The transcendent powers invited by the Qin clan were all in there, only the Venerate Heaven's Sect and Sky Demon Sect weren't invited. The status of the Venerate Heaven's Sect was unique. They could determine the rankings of Grand Xiao. Once upon a time, the founder of the Venerate Heaven's Sect was an official in charge of the Imperial Astronomical Observatory of Grand Xiao, and he had the ability to peer into the fate of Grand Xiao. There were rumors saying that if the rebellion back then didn't have his support, it would have been impossible. Naturally, he was able to predict many things. Hence, the later generations all believed that the founder of the Venerate sect was the most important person among the traitors. Not only that, other than the Ouyang aristocrat clan, the other 5 powers that were invited by the Qin clan were all established by the 9 traitors of Grand Xiao. In Grand Clan, the Ouyang clan was the Ouyang, the clan of the Qin. The Ouyang aristocrat clan was currently on the way to the Qin clan. As Qin Wentian and Ouyang Guangsheng chatted about this topic, waves of shock could be felt in his heart. Back then, he had personally witnessed the leader of the 9 grand clans acting against Princess Tianyu in the Divine Steel. He didn't know which power was the founder of that young man. I to say, the Qin of the ancient Emperor. The ancient T of Qin of and 2. The Qin's T that he. To say the tut the clan and his two, of course they were. If it weren't for the destruction of the other 2 transcendent powers, Grand Xia would still be governed by the 9 grand clans. Qin Wentian sighed. Of course they were. If it weren't for the destruction of the other 2 transcendent powers, the current Grand Xia would still be governed by the 9 grand clans. Ouyang Guangsheng nodded. One must know that although the Ouyang aristocrat clan and Sky Demon sect replaced them and joined the ranks of the 9 grand clans, they are still ranked at the bottom. Not only that, back then, there were 9 grand clans in Grand Xiao. Each of them occupied one of the 9 continents, ruling over an entire prefecture. But after that, the strongest clan in Ginkgo was annihilated. Only then did the Venerate Heaven's sect, Qin clan, and Shi clan return to Ginkgo. The Hua clan moved to the central region of Grand Xia, the Moon continent, and as time passed, the other major powers rose up as well, forming the current Grand Xia. Ouyang Guangsheng sighed as he recalled the events of the past. The current Grand Xia can no longer be referred to as an empire. It's too fragmented, with the various kings vying for supremacy. No transcendent power could unify Grand Xia. Back then, the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia was simply too powerful. The Pill Concoction clan became the current Pill Emperor Hall, the Weaponsmithing clan became the current Wang clan of the War Continent, the Imperial Astronomer clan became the Venerate Heavens sect, the warring clans became the Qin clan, Shi clan, Swallow Swordsman. If it wasn't for the fact that the Pill Concoction clan weakened greatly over the past few thousand years, they would have been even more terrifying. Impressive, but didn't stellar martial cultivators grow stronger and stronger? Why did the strength of Grand Xia gradually weaken? Fan Lu was also seriously listening at the side. At this moment, he couldn't help but interject. I heard that there's a possibility that there are other transcendent powers outside of Grand Xia. Maybe, it's because of the weakening of Grand Xia, those outstanding geniuses knew that they couldn't advance any further in Grand Xia, hence they chose to leave. If the overall strength of Grand Xia was tyrannical, there's no need for them to leave. Ouyang Guangsheng didn't know much about this, hence he casually guessed. Qin Wentian and the rest nodded their heads lightly, there was some logic in his words. Isn't this the same as the 9 continents and Chu? If Chu was as strong as the 9 continents, there's no need for us to travel from Chu to the 9 continents. In that case, the outside world is even more terrifying compared to Grand Xia. Chu Mang mumbled to himself, yet his words caused Qin Wentian's countenance to change. What was the limit of cultivation? How vast was the land of the 9 continents? Could supreme experts really be like what the rumors said, able to shatter the heavens and earth, pluck the stars from the heavens? As they spoke, they landed outside the Qin clan. Momentarily, their silhouettes landed on the ground, showing their respect to the Qin clan. Outside the Qin clan, there were already people welcoming them, leading them into the Qin clan. I'm so excited to see my little lover. Luo Huan couldn't help but smile when she saw Qin Wentian staring at her. She already knew of the news regarding Mo Qincheng. Back then, it was just a joke, but who would have thought that today, they would actually become a couple. Both of them were so outstanding, it was just that there seemed to be some difficulties between them. Sis, don't tease me. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. The group of them arrived at the location of the Qin clan's banquet. It was actually an island located in the heart of a lake. Walking along the corridors of the pavilions, they could hear beautiful maidens playing music in the middle of the lake. The island in the heart of the lake was extremely vast, and there was even a training platform in the middle of it. At this moment, there were already many people present. Upon seeing the arrival of the Ouyang aristocrat clan, a middle-aged man immediately walked over, laughing, "The Ouyang aristocrat clan's presence brings light to our humble dwelling. Brother Chen is too polite." The person in the lead of the Ouyang aristocrat clan was none other than Ouyang Guangsheng's second uncle, Ouyang Long. He clasped his hands towards the middle-aged man, as a smile appeared on his face. There are so many guests today, if there are any areas where the hospitality is lacking, please don't take offense. There are seats over there, please take a seat. The person from the Qin clan pointed in a certain direction. Ouyang Long nodded his head as he smiled, "Brother Chen, feel free to do as you please." After speaking, the person from the Qin clan left with smiles on his face. Ouyang Long and the rest found a seat and sat down. Many in the crowd turned their gazes over, only to see the Ouyang aristocrat clan personally accompanying the guests. Such a scene was naturally noticed by those from the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Their countenances flickered with unhappiness, it seemed like the Qin clan was intentionally doing this to show off their might. Although their words were polite, they were clearly disrespecting them. Qin Wentian only felt a cold glint of light boring into him. He turned his gaze over in a certain direction, only to see Wang Zhao's gaze was as sharp as a blade. Beside him, Qiao Xian from the Mystic Maiden Palace had also accompanied him here, wanting to experience the various powers of Grand Xia. Today, out of the 7 transcendent powers of Grand Xia, other than those from the Ginkgo continent, the other 6 would all be here. The people from the War continent truly have a sharp aura, Qin Wentian mused as he swept his gaze over to the crowd in Wang Zhao's direction. After which, he turned his gaze over, only to see a group of silhouettes clad in white, with ancient swords strapped to their backs. They must be the Swallow Swordsmen. There were also those from the Hua clan and the Pill Emperor Hall. His gaze instantly landed on Luo He. At this moment, Luo He was currently chatting with the leader of the Hua clan. The Hua clan had always wanted to get closer to the Pill Emperor Hall. Hence, they also had the intention of forming a marriage alliance. Luo He seemed to have sensed something. She turned her gaze over, instantly landing on Qin Wentian as her eyes turned sharp. Qin Wentian only felt an immense pressure bearing down on him. Luo He's countenance was filled with coldness as she stared at him. It was precisely because of this young man that her disciple, Mo Qingqing, couldn't forget about him. In fact, even her status as a master couldn't be compared to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian. Not far away from Luo He, Zhan Chen's eyes flickered with a golden light as he stared at Qin Wentian, his killing intent unmasked. Those from the Hua clan also turned their gazes onto Qin Wentian. Was this young man the one who killed Hua Xiaoyun? Their gazes were extremely cold when they stared at Qin Wentian, as though Qin Wentian was already a dead man. The Hua clan didn't care about Hua Xiaoyun's death. That was because Hua Xiaoyun was a silk pants who often stirred up trouble outside. Other than those closest to him, no one else would feel pity for him. Although they didn't care about Hua Xiaoyun's death, Qin Wentian's death was undoubtedly a humiliation to the Hua clan. Naturally, they wouldn't care, because there was someone else who would make Qin Wentian die. Hua Taishu, who had always doted on Hua Xiaoyun, would definitely not allow Qin Wentian to live for too long. As long as he was alive, Qin Wentian would definitely die. Other than Zhan Chen, among the Chen clan, Chen Rant's gaze was exceptionally cold when he stared at Qin Wentian. However, he didn't dare to reveal anything. After all, he had been defeated by Qin Wentian. He didn't have the face to mention this matter in front of everyone. He didn't have the face to seek revenge from Qin Wentian, because that was a defeat. How would he dare to speak of the humiliation of being defeated in front of so many people? Qin Wentian's countenance was as calm as ever. Just based on what Hua Xiaoyun had done to Mo Qingqing, if he had the chance again, he would still kill him without hesitation. This matter wouldn't affect his state of mind. Zhan Chen was a ruthless person, willing to use any means necessary to achieve his goals. He even killed the person who loved him. Since he wanted to kill Qin Wentian, why wouldn't he, Qin Wentian, want to kill Zhan Chen as well? At the end of the corridor, another group of silhouettes walked over. They were none other than the members of the Shi clan. Those from the Shi clan all had demonic expressions on their faces. Their long hair was as black as ink, incomparably black, and they exuded a cold and imposing aura. It's rumored that the members of the Shi clan possess the bloodline of a primordial beast, and are natural-born warriors. They once chased after the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia, conquering everything under the heavens and unifying Grand Xia. Ouyang Guangxing spoke in a low voice, causing a look of bewilderment to appear on Qin Wentian's face. Those from the Shi clan actually possessed the bloodline of a primordial beast. Chapter 344. The Shi clan's situation involuntarily made Qin Wentian think of himself. In his body, there were 2 types of bloodlines. One of them was the bloodline of a primordial demon king. Even though his cultivation base was already at the 7th level of Yuanfu, he still hadn't unearthed the secrets of his bloodline. The 2 types of bloodlines in his body contained boundless potential, waiting for him to slowly discover them. The people of the Shi clan sat down, and immediately, the crowd gradually took their seats. Maids continuously prepared the banquet and placed it in front of the crowd. The atmosphere was relaxed, as if it was a banquet, without the slightest bit of anger. The various transcendent powers also seemed to be in harmony with each other, but who would have thought that they had been secretly competing for supremacy for so many years? It's an honor for all of you to come to my Qin clan. The new generation will replace the old, and now that I'm able to see the rising stars of the younger generations, I feel gratified in my heart. In the direction of the Qin clan, the person in the lead was clad in luxurious robes that had the image of a dazzling sun engraved on it. Brother Hua, why isn't nephew Taishu here? The middle-aged man from the Qin clan glanced in the direction of the Hua clan as he asked. In terms of rising stars, Hua Taishu was undoubtedly the number one. He had already dominated the heavenly fate rankings for many years. Taishu is currently breaking through to the second level of Heavenly Dipper. In the direction of the Hua clan, a person smiled, his countenance filled with faint arrogance, causing the countenances of the crowd to stiffen. Hua Taishu was indeed worthy of his title as the top ranker of the Heavenly Fate rankings. Now that he was already breaking through to the second level of Heavenly Dipper, there was no doubt that he was already widening the gap between him and the other rankers. Seems like nephew Taishu will definitely become a hegemon of the Hua clan in the future. The person from the Qin clan laughed. With Hua Taishu's outstanding talent, he had already surpassed all his peers and even the elders of the Hua clan. If this continued, the position of leader of the Hua clan would definitely belong to Hua Taishu in the future. Isn't nephew Chen Wang the same as well? The person from the Hua clan politely replied. Chen Wang of the great solar Qin clan wasn't referring to a certain Heavenly Dipper king, but rather, it was the second ranker of the Heavenly Fate rankings. His name was Chen Wang, and it was rumored that the Qin clan had high hopes for him to become the next great solar Qin clan. He's still stuck at the peak of Yuanfu. The person from the Qin clan waved his hands with a smile. Nephew Chen Wang naturally has his reasons for staying at Yuanfu. That person from the Hua clan casually laughed. He had heard that Chen Wang could have broken through to Heavenly Dipper long ago, yet he was still stuck at Yuanfu. How is nephew Shirpatian? The people from the Qin clan changed the topic and looked in the direction of the Shi clan. Shi Tian, he Chen Wang. Same old, the others have all broken through, but he's still stuck at the 9th level of Yuanfu. That person from the Shi clan replied. The person from the Qin laughed. Wang, the person from Qin Tian of the Qin clan, said. Wang. The person from the Qin clan laughed. I wonder how strong the 5th-ranked Azure Emperor is. That brat has always been a mystery. We won't interfere in the matters of the younger generation. For the ranking battle this time around, we will just be spectators, Luo he calmly stated, causing the gazes of many to shift in the direction of the Pill Emperor Hall. I wonder how strong the 5th ranker is, Emperor Azure. He's always been mysterious. That's true, the strongest juniors in the Heavenly Fate rankings are all gathered here today. Let's just watch the show. The middle-aged man from the Qin clan casually laughed. Every time the Heavenly Fate rankings came up, the various transcendent powers would be extremely concerned. In Grand Xia, there had always been a rumor saying that the Heavenly Fate rankings determined the fate of Grand Xia. The juniors of the transcendent powers would be the most outstanding, and the higher the rankings they obtained, the better the luck of that transcendent power would be. The juniors of the strongest transcendent powers in Grand Xia had always monopolized the rankings of the Heavenly Fate rankings. Grand Xia was a power established by the 7 ancient empires. They had monopolized the top 3 rankings for countless years, and there were no exceptions. This kind of monopolization was especially true for the few powers in Ginkgo. Luo He, I heard that the female disciple you accepted, Mo Qingchen, possesses the heart of 7 orifices and is a beauty capable of toppling empires. I've yet to meet her. What's the purpose of your visit today? Someone asked. That lass painstakingly cultivates, she doesn't like crowds. Luo he casually replied. But as the sound of her voice faded, her countenance stiffened as she smiled, but today, I'll still be here to pay my respects to the various elders. As the sound of her voice faded, a few silhouettes drifted over from afar. The female in the lead was clad in white, elegant and transcendent. Her countenance was flawless, there was nothing to nitpick about her. This caused the countenances of many in the crowd to stiffen. Even those of the elders couldn't help but feel their hearts trembling. No wonder a character like Hua Taishu was interested in her. How could anyone not fall in love with such a woman with the talent of the heart of 7 orifices? As for the juniors of the transcendent powers, their gazes froze as they stared at that fairy-like countenance, their hearts involuntarily palpitated. Everyone loved beauty. No matter if it was a person with extraordinary talent or a mediocre and incompetent person, there was no exception. Luo Huan nudged Qin Wentian's arm, causing Qin Wentian to smile bitterly at her as he whispered, "Sis, stop fooling around. She seems to be even more beautiful than before. Could it be that cultivation really has the effect of enhancing one's looks? Seems like I have to work harder as well." Luo Huan laughed. The current Mo Qingqing was glowing with a mystical light. Only to see Mo Qingqing arriving in the direction of the Pill Emperor Hall, bowing to Luo He as she called out, "Master. Qingqing, quickly pay your respects to the various elders." Luo He nodded lightly. Mo Qingqing bowed to the crowd, her every movement was filled with elegance, stirring the hearts of many of the juniors. It was as though they had just found their dream girl. Qingqing pays her respects to the various elders. Mo Qingqing spoke in a low voice. After which, she shifted her gaze in the direction of the Ouyang aristocrat clan, and upon seeing Qin Wentian looking at her, a hint of mischievousness flashed past her eyes, causing Qin Wentian to be stunned. Warmth flowed in his heart, such an expression reminded him of the past. Many of the juniors rubbed their eyes. What happened earlier? Did they see wrongly? Luo He, congratulations on accepting a good disciple. I wonder if you already have someone in your heart. If not, can you take a look at the juniors of my Qin clan? The middle-aged man from the Qin clan laughed. Just when Luo He was about to reply, Mo Qingqing replied, reporting to Senior, I already have someone in my heart. Oh. The countenance of the middle-aged man from the Qin clan stiffened. Could it be that Mo Qingqing had really fallen in love with Hua Taishu? But given Hua Taishu's talent, the two of them were indeed more suitable for each other. Naturally, there was also the possibility that it was Zhang Chen. After all, they were both disciples of the Pill Emperor Hall, and could be considered as fellow apprentice siblings. It wasn't strange for feelings to develop over time. I wonder which outstanding talent it is, to have such good luck. The middle-aged man from the Qin clan laughed. You all will know him after the ranking battle, Mo Qingqing replied with a smile. Mo Qingqing smiled as she replied. Her words caused many in the crowd to have expressions of shock on their faces. In that case, it wasn't Hua Taishu. In fact, it might not even be Zhang Chen. Let's not talk about this matter for now. Luo He was somewhat unhappy as she indifferently stated. The middle-aged man from the Qin clan nodded. His gaze finally shifted in the direction of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. A few days ago, nephew Ouyang Guangxing wanted the younger generations of the Ouyang aristocrat clan to spar against the younger generations of my Qin clan. Hence, this banquet was held today. I invited all of you here today not only to catch up on our friendship, but also to see how the cultivation of our younger generations are progressing. Chen Wang, Shi Patian, and the rest were all in the future. Evidently, they didn't intend to allow those juniors to clash against each other earlier. The ranking battle was their true stage. Ouyang Guangxing's cultivation base was merely at the 7th level of Yuanfu. If he wanted to spar, the Qin clan would naturally satisfy him. Is everyone interested? The middle-aged man from the Qin clan smiled as he stared at the crowd. How do we spar? The middle-aged man from the Wang clan asked. Since nephew Ouyang's cultivation base is at the 7th level of Yuanfu, let's set it at the same level. Each faction will choose one of their members to spar, while the others will choose their own to support them. Let's see who is the strongest. How about it? The middle-aged man from the Qin clan laughed. This spar is only to liven up the atmosphere of the banquet, there's no need to be too serious. Sure, do you want to bet something? Someone in the crowd laughed. Fine, the final victor can make a request to the other transcendent powers. As long as the request isn't too excessive, and the other transcendent powers have no objections, they can agree to it. How about it? The middle-aged man from the Qin clan continued, as the others nodded their heads. A spar between juniors was only for the sake of liveliness. The main purpose of the Qin clan today was to humiliate the Ouyang aristocrat clan. They knew that other than Chen Wang, there was another demon-level character at the 7th level of Yuanfu who wasn't any weaker compared to Chen Wang. Since everyone has agreed, let's begin the sparring. As the sound of the middle-aged man's voice faded, two figures walked out from the direction of the Qin clan. As expected, it's Qin Zhan. The gazes of the spectators sharpened as they stared at one of them. Qin Zhan's talent was exceedingly terrifying, able to fight against opponents at the 9th level of Yuanfu. His comprehension of the great solar universe art was also extremely high. Will you accompany me? Ouyang Guangxing stared at Qin Wentian. For this battle, if Qin Wentian accompanied him, there would be no suspense at all. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly. After hearing the words of the middle-aged man from the Qin clan, he instantly decided that he would participate in this battle. The conditions he would propose were simple, but to him, they were extremely important. The two of them exchanged glances and laughed as they stepped onto the sparring platform. The other participants from the 6 transcendent powers also stepped out. Wang Xiao was also among them. His gaze wasn't on Qin Zhan from the Qin clan, but was fixed on Qin Wentian instead. He knew that Qin Wentian was even more terrifying compared to Qin Zhan. Before Qin Wentian had ascended the heavenly steel steps, he was already able to fight against Situpo without losing. Not only that, his improvements on the heavenly steel steps were not small. Now, even Wang Xiao felt that his combat prowess was unfathomable. But one thing was for sure, he was definitely extremely powerful. The great solar Qin clan's plan had failed. Qin Wentian, you killed a member of my Hua clan. Today, I want to teach you a lesson. In the direction of the Hua clan, a young man coldly spoke. Qin Wentian didn't even bother to glance at him. The auras of the various transcendent powers were all extremely powerful. The middle-aged man from the Qin clan laughed as he prepared to explain the rules of the sparring. Ouyang, I don't want to waste time, Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice, causing Ouyang Guangxing to freeze. What was this fellow trying to do? After which, Qin Wentian pulled Ouyang Guangxing along as he took a step forwards. For people of our generation, if we want to battle, we should strive to be the strongest. The countenances of the spectators froze as they stared at Qin Wentian. What did this young man mean by that? After which, they only heard Qin Wentian continuing, there's no need for any rules. All of you, come at me together. Ouyang Guangxing's heart trembled. This fellow. But to Qin Wentian, sparring with someone on the same level as him was indeed meaningless. Chapter 345. Qin Wentian's calm voice caused the entire space to turn silent, so silent that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Ouyang Guangxing had declared that he wanted to spar with the youths from the great solar Qin clan. The Qin clan wanted to use this opportunity to humiliate Ouyang Guangxing, yet at this moment, the person beside Ouyang Guangxing actually dared to say, all of you, come at me together. Although the participants on the stage were all at the 7th level of Yuanfu, in terms of combat prowess, any one of them could easily kill an ordinary 8th level Yuanfu cultivator. The 6 transcendent powers were currently the strongest 6 out of the 9 transcendent powers in Grand Xia. The 12 outstanding youths were all prepared to display their prowess. They would be missing out on the ranking battle this time around, and even if they participated, they wouldn't be able to become the most dazzling existences. But if they could display their prowess here, they would be able to gain some glory for their clan lord. Who might you be? Chen Zhan from the Great Solar Qin clan asked. He didn't even know who this person was. Among the spectators, other than those from the Hua clan and Pil Emperor Hall, the vast majority of them didn't know who Qin Wentian was. Maybe, this was the first time he appeared in the eyes of the transcendent powers in Grand Xia. But of course, this wouldn't be the best. At this moment, the spectators still hadn't realized that from today onwards, this young man would cause a tempest in Grand Xia. Qin Wentian. A calm voice drifted out from Qin Wentian's mouth. Chen Zhan's countenance flickered with the light of the great solar sun, resembling a ball of fire. Chen Zhan took a step forward, causing the earth to tremble. Chen Zhan's body was bathed in the sun's rays, blinding the eyes of the spectators as he arrogantly stated, arrogant words, not knowing the immensity of the heavens and earth. The 2 of us from the Chen clan shall fight the 2 of you first. The others didn't move. To them, a group of people ganging up on Qin Wentian wasn't something to be proud of. Chen Zhan's combat prowess was high, they would let him test how strong Qin Wentian was. Qin Wentian clenched his fists as he took a step forward, standing together with Ouyang Guangsheng in the middle of the stage. All of you, do as you please. Qin Wentian gathered a terrifying power in his palm, and wisps of demonic aura filled the air. Boom! Chen Zhan stepped out, staring at Qin Wentian. The great solar universe energy gushed forth from his body as a fearsome might gushed forth. The spectators could clearly feel the scorching heat radiating from it. Abruptly, Chen Zhan soared up into the air, standing there in the air. Rays of sunlight cascaded down from the heavens, enveloping him in an armor of light. Suddenly, 9 cosmic sunflower swords appeared in the air, blazing flames sweeping through the air. Kill! The cosmic sunflower sword slashed down from the heavens, leaving 9 beams of light in its wake, as though 9 blazing suns were slashing towards Qin Wentian. He wanted everyone to know that he was Chen Zhan of the Great Solar Qin clan. Only to see Qin Wentian inclined his head, staring at Chen Zhan. His body actually soared up into the air with the cosmic sunflower sword in his hands. His palms trembled as he directly blasted out a palm strike, shattering the cosmic sunflower sword into nothingness. Chen Zhan's countenance changed, but it was only for an instant. Qin Wentian wasn't strong, he wasn't a challenge at all. However, at this moment, a terrifying gaze pierced through his eyes of flames. Chen Zhan only felt his mind shuddering violently, while the spectators only saw Qin Wentian stepping out, instantly appearing in front of Chen Zhan and punching out with his fist. Chen Zhan howled in rage as the cosmic sunflower storm erupted forth. Pang! With a clean and direct punch, Chen Zhan's body was directly flung through the air. Splashing sounds rang out as the lake water splashed everywhere. Chen Zhan fell into the lake. Suppression of strength. The eyes of the spectators below were all extremely sharp. They instantly understood that Qin Wentian had used his absolute advantage in strength to suppress Chen Zhan. In front of absolute strength, all methods and innate techniques were useless. Strength to defeat 10, strength to break 10,000 techniques. Below, Ouyang Guangsheng was fighting against another young man from the Great Solar Qin clan. Similarly, Ouyang Guangsheng had the absolute advantage. With a single punch, his opponent was forced back onto the platform, coughing out blood. The Ouyang aristocrat clan against the Great Solar Qin clan, a complete victory. At this moment, everyone understood that if they were to exchange pointers, none of them would be a match for the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Only to see Qin Wentian stepping out as he dove downwards. Staring at Wang Xiao, he coldly spat out a single word, scram. As the sound of his voice faded, Wang Xiao only felt a terrifying pressure bearing down on him. His countenance drastically changed as a boundless sharpness gushed forth from him. The two young men from the Wang clan soared up into the air, only to see Qin Wentian blasting out with another palm strike. An incomparably gigantic ape palm imprint blasted out as the two young men from the Wang clan were both flung through the air. Bzzz. A raging wind gusted by as 5 to 6 silhouettes simultaneously soared up into the skies. Their astral souls erupted forth as they lunged towards Qin Wentian. Numerous terrifying tempests swept past, enveloping Qin Wentian as a terrifying pressure bore down on him. At the same time, there were two other cultivators moving towards Ouyang Quangsheng. Seeing how tyrannical Qin Wentian was, they knew that if they continued to wait, they would all be swept away. In the air, Qin Wentian flicked his sleeves as he stared at the incoming cultivators. His long hair was as black as ink, allowing the tempests to rain down on him. He stood at his original location, unmoving. In an instant, the cultivators all landed beside Qin Wentian, unleashing all sorts of terrifying attacks. At this moment, Qin Wentian blasted out with a palm strike. Boom! The sound of a bell reverberated through the air, shaking the heavens and earth. The sound of the bell resonated in the hearts of those around Qin Wentian, causing their hearts to tremble violently. Groaning in agony, blood seeped out from the corners of their mouths. Boom! Yet another bell chime. Qin Wentian's silhouette flickered as the crowd only saw towering amounts of demonic qi in the air. That black-haired young man had unleashed a barrage of attacks. Pang, 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 a series of suppressive attacks erupted forth, and the young men from the various transcendent powers were all blasted back to their respective clans, coughing out blood as their countenances paled. The young man stood proudly in the air. Even though he was just standing there casually, he gave off the illusion that he was unparalleled in the world. At this moment, the crowd couldn't help but think of a phrase, unrivaled in the same cultivation realm. Such combat prowess could indeed be said to be unrivaled in the same cultivation realm. The countenances of those from the various transcendent powers flickered as their countenances turned unsightly. Only those from the Ouyang aristocrat clan had smiles on their faces. Seems like Ouyang Quangsheng was right back then. This young man who dared to beat up Ouyang Ting in the Ouyang aristocrat clan was truly a character. Only Duan Qingshan and Ouyang Ting had unsightly expressions on their faces. How did this young man grow so strong so quickly? In the direction of the Pill Emperor Hall, Luo He's eyes flashed with sharpness. This young man was extraordinary, no wonder Qingqing couldn't forget him. Qin Wentian already had the demeanor of a transcendent void cultivator. Suppressing all those on the same level as him, he was unrivaled in Grand Xiao. When he stepped into the 9th level of Yuanfu, there was no doubt that he would become the top ranker of the heavenly fate rankings. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes flickered with a brilliant light. If this was the case, she was even more confident in Qin Wentian. He would definitely be able to defeat Zhang Chen. The battle below also concluded. Ouyang Quangsheng had defeated two of his opponents, but his brilliance was completely overshadowed by Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian landed on the ground, standing shoulder to shoulder with Ouyang Quangsheng. Ouyang Quangsheng laughed, "Seniors, I have a request from my brother, Qin Wentian. I hope that all of you would be able to fulfill it. If it's not too overboard, I'm sure no one would reject it." The countenance of the middle-aged man from the Qin clan flickered with coldness. How could he smile in such a situation? Only to see Qin Wentian shifting his gaze in the direction of the Pill Emperor Hall. His eyes landed on Luo He as he stated, "Junior's request is that I hope Senior Luo He can agree to a private chat with your disciple, Mo Qingqing, for an hour. This request shouldn't be too overboard, right?" The countenances of Luo He and Zhan Chen froze, only to hear Zhan Chen interjected, "Martial uncle, junior apprentice sister is a heaven's chosen, how can she meet with others alone?" Strange expressions appeared on the faces of those from the various transcendent powers. This young man was so outstanding, yet he couldn't resist the charms of a beauty. Upon seeing a character like Imo Qingqing, he actually wanted to go on a date with her. How interesting. However, no matter how outstanding Qin Wentian was, it was still impossible for him to pursue Imo Qingqing. An hour? Master, I have no problem with that. Imo Qingqing obediently replied, as though she was afraid that her master, Luohe, would make things difficult for her. However, Luohe's heart was as clear as a mirror. How could this lass have any objections? Senior Luohe, since this is a promise made by all the elders, and Imo Qingqing herself has agreed to it, I'm sure Senior wouldn't go back on your words, right? Ouyang Guangxing stated. Only then did Luohe reply, it's in the vicinity. Disciple understands. Imo Qingqing nodded her head, as she stepped forward. Qin Wentian smiled, Miss Qingqing, please follow me. After speaking, he turned and walked away, with Imo Qingqing following behind him. The two of them left the island, and upon witnessing this scene, many of the youths had expressions of jealousy on their faces. This man was truly good at wooing women. So it turns out that he's also a lecherous person, coveting the beauty of others. Ouyang Ting cursed in a low voice. When she saw Imo Qingqing's countenance, how could she not feel jealousy in her heart? It's rare for us to gather together. Let's continue the banquet. The middle-aged man from the Chen clan spoke. As for Qin Wentian and Imo Qingqing, they walked far away from each other, the further the better. Not long after, they arrived at the residence of the Pill Emperor Hall. Imo Qingqing halted her steps as she turned her head to look at Qin Wentian. She couldn't help but to giggle, as beautiful as 100 flowers blooming at the same time. Dumbo, to think that you can think of this. At this moment, Imo Qingqing had removed her disguise. Her saintly beauty was now revealing the demeanor of a little girl, exuding a sense of mischievousness. If others were to see her current demeanor, they would surely be stunned silly. Qin Wentian didn't say anything, he only stared at Imo Qingqing. Imo Qingqing's heart pounded rapidly as she rolled her eyes. What are you looking at? It's been a long time since I've seen you, I naturally want to see you to my heart's content. Qin Wentian walked up, coming to the side of Imo Qingqing. Staring into Qin Wentian's eyes, Imo Qingqing leaned forward, leaning into his embrace as she spoke in a gentle voice, it has been tough on you during these years. Am I not doing very well? What about you? How are you doing in the Pill Emperor Hall? Qin Wentian asked. Not too bad, Master treats me very well. Imo Qingqing pulled Qin Wentian along as they walked to the side of the river. She took out a small porcelain bottle from her robes and passed it to Qin Wentian. This is a third-ranked limit break pill. Back then when I met you, I accidentally succeeded in concocting it. However, I only managed to produce 5 pills in a single cauldron, but it's sufficient. For this type of pill, only the first pill will have an immense effect. If you consume it a second time, it would be a waste. Take it. Although she spoke casually, Qin Wentian had no way to imagine how much effort she had put into concocting this batch of pills. Chapter 346. Limit-Breaking Dan. Qin Wentian took the bottle from Imo Qingqing's hands, feeling a little taken aback. This name, could it help one break through to the next level? As long as your cultivation base is stable, there shouldn't be a problem for you to break through to the next level in the Yuanfu realm. I've kept one for myself, so that we can meet again during the ranking battle. Imo Qingqing winked mischievously. Qin Wentian's eyes also brightened as he leaned in closer to Imo Qingqing, causing her to smile in response. Such a heaven-defying medicinal pill must have been extremely difficult to concoct, right? Your alchemy skills and your cultivation base have both improved by leaps and bounds. How did you manage to reach such a level in the past few years? Qin Wentian stared at Imo Qingqing's beautiful countenance, his gentle voice causing one to feel a sense of warmth in their hearts. He could already imagine how hard Mo Qingqing had worked these past few years. "You're already a 4th-ranked grandmaster, how can I fall behind? That's why I'm already a 4th-ranked alchemist. As for my cultivation base, it's actually very simple. Master said that I have the 7 apertures exquisite heart, and ever since it was awakened, I've been enlightened, and my comprehension abilities have become even more powerful." Mo Qingqing swung her legs in a relaxed manner. "4th-ranked grandmaster, 4th-ranked alchemist, don't you think we're a good match?" As she spoke with a smile, Mo Qingqing felt that something was wrong. Qin Wentian's eyes were fixated on her, and his body was slowly leaning forward. "What are you doing?" Mo Qingqing felt her 7 apertures exquisite heart pounding rapidly, as a faint blush appeared on her face. Who would stare at someone like that? Qin Wentian's head got nearer and nearer, almost touching Mo Qingqing's head. The two of them could even feel each other's breaths. Mo Qingqing's heartbeat quickened, her body stiffened, and her shaking legs stopped moving. Why was she so nervous? This damnable Dumbo, what was he trying to do? Following which, Mo Qingqing felt her entire body tightening as she was embraced by a certain someone. Her heart pounded violently, and before she could even let out a cry of surprise, her lips were pressed against his. The first kiss of the pitiful number 1 beauty of Chu was snatched away just like that. A light sound rang out as their lips parted. Under the dumbfounded gaze of Mo Qingqing, a certain someone licked his lips, as though he hadn't had enough. After which, he turned his head and stared at the small river ahead as he spoke in a low voice, "The scenery here is so beautiful." Mo Qingqing fiercely glared at him. He actually dared to praise the scenery. It was too hateful. Qin Wentian weakly turned his head, staring at Mo Qingqing's soul-stirring eyes as he smiled. "Qingqing, what's wrong?" Mo Qingqing stretched out her hands and grabbed onto Qin Wentian's waist, twisting it violently. "Humph. Qingqing, I just don't want to be called a fool by you again." Qin Wentian defended himself, only then did Mo Qingqing spare him. "What do you plan to do then?" "Don't worry, I will be responsible for you." Qin Wentian righteously stated, causing Mo Qingqing's lips to twitch. "No way, I want you to return it to me now." Eh. Qin Wentian's face was filled with black lines. "How can I return it?" "Fool." Mo Qingqing giggled, as she stroked her hair. That tiny movement of hers was so beautiful that it was suffocating. What made Qin Wentian even more dumbfounded was that Mo Qingqing's arms wrapped around his neck as she pressed her lips against his, taking the initiative to give herself to him. Qin Wentian's eyes were wide open, as his eyelashes fluttered. His closed eyes seemed to be able to speak, filled with boundless emotions. Qin Wentian's heart was about to melt, as he tightly hugged the girl in front of him. The two of them used choppy movements to feel each other's breaths, exchanging the emotions in the depths of their hearts. The sound of their heartbeats could be heard clearly, as though they were composing a song of love. After a long time, their lips parted. Mo Qingqing's face was already completely red, as she shyly glanced at Qin Wentian. After which, her body softly leaned into Qin Wentian's embrace, as she stared at the flowing river, silently feeling the heartbeat of Qin Wentian. A radiant smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face, as his heart was filled with boundless tenderness and warmth. All of this was worth it. Tightly hugging the beauty in his embrace, they didn't say anything else. Any words would be useless, they were using their hearts to communicate. An hour seemed to pass by in the blink of an eye. Mo Qingqing still couldn't bear to leave Qin Wentian's warm embrace. Her eyes were red, as a crystalline tear rolled down her cheeks. However, her beautiful eyes were still filled with a smile. How wonderful would it be if time stood still, never to flow? Mo Qingqing murmured. Upon hearing that intoxicating voice, Qin Wentian felt an unbearable pain in his heart, as he replied in a low voice, "It's all my fault for being useless. I didn't have the ability to keep you by my side." Upon hearing Qin Wentian's words, Mo Qingqing stood up and pressed her finger against Qin Wentian's lips, as she whispered, "I forbid you to say such things." "Fine, I won't say it, but I will do my best to redeem everything." Qin Wentian stared at the traces of tears at the corner of Mo Qingqing's eyes as an incomparably intense obsession appeared in his heart. That obsession took root in the depths of his heart. "I believe in you, I will always believe in you." Mo Qingqing smiled radiantly, causing the surrounding scenery to become even more beautiful. "In the ranking battle for the Heavenly Fate rankings, you have to defeat Zhan Chen no matter what. Master promised me that as long as you defeat him, he wouldn't interfere in my search for you." "Right." Qin Wentian nodded his head. Staring at the silhouette in front of him, Qin Wentian laughed, "Not even mentioning Zhan Chen, even if I have to topple the entire Pill Emperor Hall, I will make sure to keep you by my side forever. Emichim, I will wait for you." Mo Qingqing slowly stood up, pulling Qin Wentian's hand as she smiled, "I will return to my room first, I won't be returning to the banquet. You can stay here for a while longer, I will be able to see you even when I'm in the pavilion." Even if Master knew about this, he wouldn't say anything. "Okay, I will stay here." Qin Wentian nodded his head. Mo Qingqing reluctantly released his hand, as she turned and walked away. Qin Wentian stared at the graceful silhouette of Mo Qingqing as she slowly walked away, an indescribable feeling in his heart. When he was young, the first time he tasted love was because of that beautiful silhouette. Amidst the snowflakes, the word Dumbo had caused a seed to germinate in his heart. And now, this seed had gradually taken root, growing stronger and stronger. He knew that from now onwards, that beautiful silhouette of Mo Qingqing had already been deeply imprinted in his heart, never to be erased. Love, this sort of thing, would cause people to feel a sense of wonder and warmth, yet it would also cause people's hearts to ache and feel conflicted. Drawing in a deep breath, Qin Wentian slowly turned around, continuing to sit there. The obsession in his heart grew stronger and stronger. It was as though he could see the traces of tears at the corner of Mo Qingqing's eyes. It was because of his incompetence, causing her to cry. It was because of his incompetence, causing her to feel so miserable. If he could look down on this entire world with disdain, who would be able to obstruct him from being together with the person he loved? Closing his eyes, his intense perception permeated the air, enveloping this entire space as it extended outwards. He saw that Mo Qingqing had already returned to the pavilion. She was currently lying on the eaves of the pavilion, smiling as she stared at his silhouette. When he saw that beautiful countenance, as well as the gentle smile on her face, the obsession in his heart grew stronger and stronger. His perception also grew stronger, and was still frenziedly expanding outwards. This entire space was transparent to him, there was no obstruction at all. He saw many servants of the Chen clan bustling about, enduring the scoldings of their masters. He saw a cultivation ground. A young miss of the Chen clan was currently standing there, staring down at a servant who was kneeling on the ground. She was using vulgar words to insult her, saying that she didn't raise her demonic beast mount properly. Weak strength, inferior to a mount. He saw the direct descendants of the Chen clan sitting in their own pavilions, flipping through secret manuals of innate techniques. His perception even drifted back to the island in the center of the lake, where the banquet was held. The people there were all feigning civility. This time around, there was actually no one who noticed that Qin Wentian's perception was currently spying on them. In Qin Wentian's body, the candle flame was still flickering. It was like the flame in his heart, able to see through everything in this world. Qin Wentian felt that his perception was about to connect with this world. Under the influence of that obsession, he unknowingly entered a wondrous state. Such a state of enlightenment was exceedingly difficult to obtain. There were countless people who would never be able to enter this state even once in their entire lives. Mo Qingqing's peerless countenance, the expressions of the people at the banquet, the people living in the Chen clan, the sound of flowing water, the melody of the wind, all of these things entered his ears clearly. Qin Wentian felt that he could touch their existence. What is a state of cultivation? Qin Wentian asked himself. Being able to see through everything, to be able to clearly hear the rhythm of the world, was a state of cultivation. What is a will? Qin Wentian asked himself again. With a single thought, he could break free from the restraints on his body, and establish a connection with the external world. This was a state of cultivation. In that case, the second level of mandates wouldn't be so difficult to comprehend. Splashing sounds rang out as the water in the river started to move, as though there was a force acting on it. In the middle of the river, water gushed out, transforming into a water column. Only to see Qin Wentian slowly standing up. The water column grew taller and taller as it gushed towards the sky. Force is everywhere. Qin Wentian murmured. With a thunderous rumbling sound, the water column soared up to the skies. At the instant Qin Wentian opened his eyes, the water column fell back into the river, transforming into flowing water as it flowed away into the distance. Turning around, Qin Wentian turned his gaze towards the horizons. His eyes penetrated through space, staring at that beautiful smiling face. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes flickered, as though she was pleasantly surprised. With a sweet smile, that smile transformed into the entire world. Chapter 347. Mo Qingqing naturally understood that Qin Wentian's will was able to cause the pillar of water to surge forward. He had broken through. There was a kind of will of mandates that had broken through to the second level. To Qin Wentian, a breakthrough in his mandate was too important. He was very clear on how intense the ranking battle this time around would be. Those ranked at the top would definitely not be simple characters. Not only that, they had been stuck at the peak of Yuanfu for so many years. Although they had yet to step into Heavenly Dipper, how could the strongest among them not have comprehended the second level of mandates? The second level of mandates was one of the prerequisites for stepping into Heavenly Dipper. There were many who failed to comprehend the second level of mandates, and were forever stuck at the peak of Yuanfu. One could very well imagine the significance of this breakthrough to Qin Wentian. It increased his chances of ranking on the Heavenly Fate rankings. I'm leaving, Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. Mo Qingqing smiled and nodded her head. During the ranking battle, I will tell everyone in the world that you are my woman. Qin Wentian's calm voice was akin to a vow, causing Mo Qingqing's heart to tremble. Qin Wentian stepped out, as he departed. His heart was filled with an unprecedented resolution. After returning to the island in the lake, the gazes of many in the crowd coldly swept over Qin Wentian. This fellow had actually exceeded the time limit of an hour, they had no idea what he discussed with Mo Qingqing. However, even if Qin Wentian's talent was outstanding, his cultivation base was still too low. Not only that, he had no background. Wanting to woo Mo Qingqing was nothing but a fool's dream. Naturally, they wouldn't understand the relationship between Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing. Only a select few from the Pill Emperor Hall would know. Bai Fei cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian. Back then when she first met Qin Wentian in Chu, she would never have dreamt that such a day would come. After the banquet was over, everyone left one after another. Qin Wentian and the others were walking in the mansion of the Chen family when they suddenly felt a glaring light. The strong sunlight seemed to be going back in a certain direction. The gazes of the crowd shifted in a certain direction only to see that at the top of a building, a young man stood there with his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the sun in the sky. Behind him, there seemed to be a sun floating there as well, incomparably resplendent, causing the entire space around him to be exceptionally resplendent. Great solar universe art, borrowing the light of the great sun. Someone had a look of shock on his face as he whispered, that is the great solar Chen clan's most outstanding heavens chosen of this generation, Chen Wang. Number 2 on the Heavenly Fate ranking, Chen Wang. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over only to see that at this moment, Chen Wang seemed to have sensed something. His eyes slowly turned over as he stared in Qin Wentian's direction. Instantly, a surge of heat akin to the rays of the sun radiated forth. In Chen Wang's eyes, there were blazing suns. Such a high temperature. The crowd only felt as though the temperature of the air was rising. Many of the Heavenly Dipper sovereigns from the Ouyang aristocrat clan had expressions of shock on their faces. As expected of great solar Chen Wang. With a single glance, his mandate could penetrate through space. This was a second-level mandate. Because Hua Taishu wouldn't participate in the ranking battle this time around, Chen Wang from the Great Solar Chen clan was the one with the highest chance of obtaining the position of the top ranker. He had already been at the peak of Yuanfu for a few years now, and had long since made preparations to break through to Heavenly Dipper. Not only that, his mandates had already broken through to the second level. This Chen Wang is so powerful. Ouyang Guangsheng's eyes flashed with sharpness. In the ranking battle that happens once every 3 years, at the very last moment, those geniuses would reveal all their trump cards. Only then would you realize that they have been concealing their true combat prowess. Not only that, I have a feeling that the ranking battle this time around will be even more intense than before. I wonder if the transcendent powers will be able to monopolize the top few spots on the Heavenly Fate rankings, seizing the fate of Grand Xia once again. Could it be that there's really such a thing as luck? Qin Wentian didn't really believe this. Although it was said that luck was extremely important in the path of cultivation, there would always be people stronger than you. If your luck was bad, you might offend others, and if you died, you wouldn't be considered a genius. Not only that, there were many secret realms in the Tianwu continent that required luck as well. But to say that obtaining one of the top few spots on the Heavenly Fate rankings would allow the transcendent powers to increase their luck, Qin Wentian didn't believe it at all. Maybe it's something that exists in the netherworld, it can't be seen nor can it be touched. However, fate still exists. Back then, if it wasn't for the fact that the Venerate Heavens sect had foreseen the end of Grand Xia, how would they have dared to rebel and destroy Grand Xia? Ouyang Guangsheng casually laughed. Returning to the inn, Qin Wentian called Ouyang Guangsheng, Fan Lu, Chu Mang and Luo Huan to his courtyard. What's the matter? Chu Mang asked Qin Wentian. I have some good stuff for you guys. Qin Wentian smiled as he retrieved a porcelain bottle. This is a third-ranked limit break pill concocted by Qingcheng. It can aid those at the Yuanfu realm in breaking through to the next level. Currently, Big Bro Chu Mang's cultivation base is at the 8th level of Yuanfu, while Fan Lu and Ouyang Guangsheng are the same as me, at the 7th level of Yuanfu. All of us will be participating in the ranking battle this time around, and if we consume this limit break pill, we'll have a higher chance of getting a higher ranking. Mo Qingcheng can actually concoct limit break pills. Ouyang Guangsheng had an expression of astonishment on his face. He naturally knew what limit break pills were. This type of pill was extremely valuable, and even if one wanted to purchase it at a sky-high price, they wouldn't be able to find a place to purchase it. This is something that requires the blood of a cultivator with a unique physique to be able to successfully concoct it. Ouyang Guangsheng stared at Qin Wentian as he continued, Wentian, Mo Qingcheng treats you so well, don't let her down. Qin Wentian froze as he drew in a deep breath. Qingcheng spoke so casually, so it turned out that she had to pay such a high price to concoct this pill. Do you think it's possible? Qin Wentian calmed his heart as he laughed. Ouyang Guangsheng nodded his head, that's right, she's the heavens chosen of the Pill Emperor Hall. Not only that, she has a countenance that can topple empires. It'd be strange if you were willing to part with her. Sister, Qingcheng only concocted 4 pills. Qin Wentian stared at Luo Huan, causing her to roll her eyes. Who do you think your senior sister is? Work hard and fight for the top position in the Heavenly Fate rankings. At that time, your senior sister will be able to shine in the limelight. How difficult is it? Ouyang Guangsheng laughed. Although he had high hopes for Qin Wentian, it was truly too difficult to obtain the top position. Not only that, there would always be a few dark horses appearing in the ranking battle every 3 years. These dark horses were either hidden geniuses from the transcendent powers, or they were personally guided by a hidden expert, using the ranking battle to make a name for themselves in the Heavenly Fate rankings. The Heavenly Fate rankings included all Yuanfu realm cultivators in Grand Xia. Being able to rank within the top 360 was already considered extremely dazzling. If one could rank within the top 36, their glory would be limitless, and they would be considered a heavens chosen in the 9 continents. For those in the top 10, they would definitely be able to soar up to the heavens in the future. For those in the top 3, as long as they didn't die, they would be able to ascend to the Heavenly Dipper rankings sooner or later, becoming an extremely influential character in Grand Xia. There was only one, and that person would be the focus of everyone's attention in Grand Xia. In the entire Grand Xia, there was only one such person. Although it was only the number 1 in the Yuanfu realm, the meaning it represented was already extremely shocking. The number 1 in the Heavenly Fate rankings would definitely be able to ascend to the Heavenly Dipper rankings in the future. The various heavens chosen all stared at that one ranking. If they wanted to obtain it, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. And precisely because of this, Hua Taishu was so dazzling. His name was the idol of countless youths. Even for Ouyang Guangsheng, Hua Taishu was his idol, his goal. Qin Wentian distributed the limit break pellets to the rest. Big Bro Chu Mang can break through to the 9th level of Yuanfu first. As for the 3 of us, we can wait a little longer. If we can break through to the 8th level before the Heavenly Fate ranking battle, that would be even better. I can already sense that the 8th level of Yuanfu isn't far away. For now, there's no need for limit break pellets. Ouyang Guangsheng nodded. Not only that, we've already experienced the baptism of the heavenly steel. Our mandates and state of hearts have all undergone a refinement, there shouldn't be any problems for us to use the limit break pellets to break through. I'm going to cultivate then. Chu Mang spoke. His cultivation base was the highest, as long as he stepped into the 9th level of Yuanfu, there wouldn't be too much pressure for him to ascend to the Heavenly Fate ranking. Right. Qin Wentian nodded. Everyone dispersed, returning to their own courtyards. The inn they were staying in had been fully booked by the Ouyang aristocrat clan. The people staying in the courtyards were all from the Ouyang aristocrat clan. For a transcendent power like the Ouyang aristocrat clan, this little bit of wealth couldn't be considered anything. At this moment, at the reception area of the inn, a silhouette glanced at the signboard to confirm that he wasn't mistaken. After which, he turned his gaze towards the interior of the inn. The members of the Ouyang aristocrat clan should be staying here. Qin Wentian should be here as well. Excuse me, are the few of you from the Ouyang aristocrat clan? At this moment, 3 silhouettes walked out of the inn. The one in the lead was a beautiful maiden clad in a fiery red robe. This maiden was none other than Ouyang Ting. Ouyang Ting glanced at the person who spoke. He was a middle-aged man with a few strands of white hair. His expression was haggard, and his aura was unstable. His cultivation base wasn't very high. He was an extremely ordinary person. Ouyang Ting stared at him as she asked, "What's the matter?" Mustang didn't show any temper when he heard the arrogance in her tone. After all, he had heard of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. This maiden was dressed in luxurious robes, and her beauty was dazzling. It was only natural for her to be arrogant. "Miss Ouyang, may I ask if you know of Qin Wentian? I heard that he's staying here, and I'm looking for him." Mustang's tone was filled with humility. Upon hearing his words, Ouyang Ting's brows furrowed. Qin Wentian, it was Qin Wentian again. Whenever she heard this name, she would feel extremely annoyed. In the Ouyang aristocrat clan, this man had long since stolen her limelight. Even the members of the Ouyang aristocrat clan treated him with respect. "Who are you to him?" Ouyang Ting asked in a cold tone. "I'm his teacher." Mustang replied humbly, yet his tone was filled with caution. "Teacher." Ouyang Ting stared at Mustang. How could that arrogant fellow have such an old man as his teacher? This place is the Ouyang aristocrat clan. How can a character like you have the qualifications to enter? Scram. Ouyang Ting spoke in a cold tone, with hints of humiliation in her tone. Mustang's countenance stiffened. Drawing in a deep breath, he replied, "Miss, I have an important matter to discuss with him. I hope Miss can accommodate me." "Fine, come beg me then." Ouyang Ting coldly laughed. "If you beg me, I might be merciful and let you in." Chapter 348. Ouyang Ting's hatred towards Qin Wentian had never dissipated. During this period of time, Qin Wentian's performance grew more and more dazzling, but this only served to stab at her heart. As a direct descendant of the Ouyang aristocrat clan, she was humiliated by Qin Wentian, yet she didn't even have the chance to seek revenge. Now that this old man claiming to be Qin Wentian's master appeared in front of her, how could she not humiliate him? Naturally, the reason why Ouyang Ting had such confidence was because of the person beside her, Duan Qingshan. No matter how outstanding Qin Wentian's performance was, his surname was still Qin. Although he was close to Qin Wentian, he had yet to join the Ouyang aristocrat clan. No matter which aspect one looked at, Duan Qingshan could completely suppress Qin Wentian. Duan Qingshan was ranked number 25 on the Heavenly Fate rankings. At least for now, he wasn't someone that Qin Wentian could compare to. In that case, she, Ouyang Ting, didn't need to worry about humiliating an old man. Mustang's countenance turned incredibly unsightly, but thinking of the importance of this matter, he could only lower his voice and bow, "Miss Ouyang, please let me in. Why can't I feel any sincerity in your request?" Ouyang Ting coldly replied. "Who do you think you are? Do you even have the qualifications to look at me as equals?" Mustang clenched his fists as his countenance turned incredibly unsightly. He didn't expect this Ouyang Ting to be so difficult to deal with. "Miss Ouyang, I have the heart to ask for your help. Miss Ouyang's status is so high, why must you make things difficult for me?" Mustang spoke. Although he came from Chu and his status was low, he couldn't stand the humiliation of a young maiden. "What? I'm making things difficult for you?" Ouyang Ting's voice turned ice cold, as a cold light flickered in her eyes. "Old fellow, do you think it's beneath me to make things difficult for someone like you? Who do you think you are? This isn't a question of whether you want to enter or not. Apologize first." Duan Qingshan quietly watched from the side, sighing in his heart. It seemed like the incident of Ouyang Ting being humiliated by Qin Wentian was a huge blow to her. She had been suppressing her emotions, unable to let go. Since that was the case, he might as well let her vent her frustrations. "Miss Ouyang, how did I offend you to make things so difficult for me?" Rage flashed in Mustang's eyes. However, as the sound of his voice faded, Duan Qingshan took a step forward as a powerful pressure bore down on Mustang. Mustang inclined his head and stared at Duan Qingshan. In the blink of an eye, Mustang felt a piercing pain in his eyes. That oppressive aura caused his body to tremble involuntarily. The strength of this young man was many times stronger than him. "Kneel down and apologize." Duan Qingshan calmly spoke, his tone containing an unquestionable authority. Mustang's heart trembled violently as he inclined his head to stare at Duan Qingshan. This young man exuded an extraordinary aura, and his strength was terrifying. He was undoubtedly an important character of the Ouyang aristocrat clan. However, Mustang had never imagined that before he even saw Qin Wentian, he would already be humiliated in such a manner. "If I've offended you in any way, please forgive me. I shall take my leave." Mustang clenched his fists tightly as he bowed, intending to leave. "I want you to kneel down and apologize." Duan Qingshan slammed out with his palm, causing Mustang to feel a violent tremor in his chest. Puff! Mustang spat out a mouthful of blood as his countenance turned pale. At this moment, he was in a dilemma. He wanted to leave, but the other party wouldn't allow him to. You can kill me, but you can't humiliate me. Mustang inclined his head and stared at Duan Qingshan and Ouyang Ting, his eyes filled with rage. He had asked them a question out of goodwill, yet he was humiliated again and again. Although the Chu country was a small place, Mustang was a teacher of the Emperor Star Academy. Normally, he would guide the juniors of the younger generation and treat the students with kindness and respect. Since when had he ever suffered such humiliation? Just because of a slight disagreement, he was forced to kneel down and apologize. Not only that, he didn't even know how he had offended the person in front of him. At this moment, members of the Ouyang aristocrat clan walked out from the inn. They heard the commotion and came over to see what was happening. They saw someone who had offended Duan Qingshan and Ouyang Ting, and was forced to apologize. However, this person seemed to have some backbone, and would rather die than submit. I can kill you with a wave of my hand, but I feel that it's beneath me to do so. Ouyang Ting coldly replied. But if you refuse to apologize, I don't mind making a move myself. I'm looking for my disciple, Qin Wentian. Why are you guys humiliating me like this? Mustang roared in rage, sweeping his gaze over the crowd. Momentarily, the expressions of the crowd froze. So this person was here to look for Qin Wentian. No wonder. Now they could understand why Ouyang Ting wanted him to kneel down and apologize. Because, she had once been forced to do so by Qin Wentian. It seemed like she wanted to take revenge for that kneeling incident. However, wasn't this person who claimed to be teacher Qin Wentian a little too weak? How could he have taught a disciple like Qin Wentian? The crowd didn't interfere. This was a grudge between Ouyang Ting and Qin Wentian. Why would they interfere? They would only be asking for trouble. Mustang swept his gaze over the crowd, as he felt a chill run down his spine. All of you, stay your hands. At this moment, a cold voice rang out. After which, two beautiful silhouettes stepped out from the inn. They were none other than Luo Huan and Jiang Ting. These two beauties got along quite well when they were together. Jiang Ting was Ouyang Guangxing's fiancée, while Luo Huan was Qin Wentian's senior apprentice sister. Initially, they had planned to go out for a walk, but who would have thought that they would encounter such a situation? What made Luo Huan even more furious was that the person being forced was actually her teacher, Mustang. Go look for Wentian. Luo Huan spoke in a low voice to Little Rascal, who was in her embrace. After which, Little Rascal transformed into a white shadow as it sprinted towards the inn. Luo Huan knew that Little Rascal was extremely intelligent, and could understand human speech. This was why she did this. She ran to Mustang's side as she called out, "Teacher." Luo Huan, why are you here as well? Mustang stared in astonishment at the person who just appeared. Not only that, Jiang Ting, who was beside Luo Huan, had an extraordinary demeanor and was extremely beautiful. Could it be that she wasn't someone from the Ouyang aristocrat clan? Jiang Ting's beautiful eyes flickered, as though she had realized what had happened. After which, she turned and walked away. At this moment, there was no point for her to stay here. The most important thing for her to do now was to look for Ouyang Guangxing. Teacher, I'm with junior brother Wentian. Luo Huan pulled on Mustang's arm as she coldly stared at Duan Qingshan and Jiang Ting. What are you guys doing to my teacher? It's really Qin Wentian's master. At this moment, the crowd finally confirmed that Luo Huan was Qin Wentian's senior apprentice sister. It seemed like Qin Wentian had once cultivated in a small sect. There's no place for you to speak here. How dare you act so arrogantly in my Ouyang aristocrat clan? Scram! Ouyang Ting mocked. Luo Huan's beautiful countenance stiffened as she coldly replied, Junior brother Qin and I are guests here. No matter what, we are still considered guests. Do you think your words represent the Ouyang aristocrat clan? What does this have to do with you? I'm telling you to scram. A long whip appeared in Jiang Ting's hands as she coldly stated. Seeing the matter getting more and more out of hand, she felt extremely uncomfortable in her heart. If you want to spar, I can accompany you. A long whip appeared in Luo Huan's hands as she stood in front of Mustang, glaring at Jiang Ting. Duan Qingshan glanced at the increasing number of people in the surroundings, as an expression of unhappiness appeared on his face. And at the same instant, Qin Wentian, who was quietly cultivating in his courtyard, suddenly heard the sound of a babbling voice ringing out in his mind, filled with impatience. This was the voice of Little Rascal. It wanted to speak, but it didn't know how to. Opening his eyes, Qin Wentian saw Little Rascal sprinting towards him, circling in front of him. Instantly, Qin Wentian understood that something must have happened. Closing his eyes, his powerful perception instantly gushed forth, radiating outwards in all directions. In an instant, his perception enveloped the entire inn. At this moment, the inn was exceedingly quiet, as though nothing had happened. However, Ouyang Guangsheng and Jiang Ting could be seen hurriedly dashing towards the exit of the inn. Qin Wentian's perception continued to spread out, arriving outside the inn. Instantly, his brows twitched as he saw the silhouette of Mustang. Teacher. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. Senior sister Luo Huan was standing beside Mustang, facing off against Duan Qingshan and Jiang Ting. If you still don't move aside, kneel down together with that old bastard. Maybe this young miss will let this matter slide. Ouyang Ting's voice drifted into Qin Wentian's ears. Don't count on Qin Wentian. This old dog offended me, and even dared to say that this young miss is deliberately making things difficult for him. Even if he's here, he'll still be useless. Rumble. A terrifying coldness gushed forth from Qin Wentian. With just a single sentence, Qin Wentian faintly understood what had happened. Since his teacher had appeared here, it should be because he was looking for him. And since Ouyang Ting knew that Mustang was his teacher, how could she not make things difficult for him? Is that so? A cold voice drifted down from the heavens, directly landing outside the inn. Qin Wentian, who was in the inn, soared up into the skies, causing the people outside to all raise their heads as their countenances stiffened. This was Qin Wentian's voice, but where was he? Ouyang Guangsheng and Jiang Ting were the first to arrive, but an instant later, the crowd felt a terrifying coldness emanating from them. Inclining their heads, they saw a silhouette descending like the wind, exuding a terrifying demonic aura. A sense of rage gushed forth from Qin Wentian. Evidently, Qin Wentian was enraged. His cold eyes swept over to Ouyang Ting, and in an instant, Ouyang Ting only felt a bone-piercing coldness. An intense killing intent gushed into her body, causing her to tremble uncontrollably. The look in Qin Wentian's eyes grew more and more terrifying. Ouyang Ting's heart trembled as her countenance paled. Why was she so afraid of him? She was a young miss of the Ouyang aristocrat clan, and with Duan Qingshan around, what did she have to fear? Today, she had to humiliate this old fellow. A raging wind gusted by as Qin Wentian's silhouette appeared beside Mustang. The coldness radiating from him retracted, and looking at the haggard countenance of his teacher, Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with guilt. Teacher, you've suffered. Qin Wentian walked forwards, only to see a smile flickering in Mustang's eyes. He could feel Qin Wentian's tyrannical aura, causing his heart to tremble. Even when facing Ren Qianqing and the others, he wouldn't feel such a feeling. Evidently, the most outstanding disciple he had ever taught had grown at a terrifying speed in the past few years. I'm fine. Mustang held on to Qin Wentian's hand, his heart filled with emotions. His slightly wrinkled palm patted Qin Wentian's hand as he spoke in a gratified tone, seeing that all of you are well, I can rest at ease. Teacher, let me settle the matters here first. Qin Wentian stood beside Mustang, as he turned and stared at Duan Qingshan and Ouyang Ting. His eyes gleamed with a cold light, as an intense coldness enveloped the entire space. Ouyang Ting, your actions today are unforgivable." As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, his killing intent gushed forth, enveloping Ouyang Ting. A thunderous boom rang out, and the crowd only saw Ouyang Ting groaning in agony, as blood seeped out from the corners of her mouth. Chapter 349. Upon seeing the blood seeping out from the corner of Ouyang Ting's mouth, a sharp glint of light flickered in the eyes of the spectators. Qin Wentian hadn't even launched an attack yet. Was his mandate already so strong that it could directly injure Ouyang Ting? Duan Qingshan stepped forward, arriving in front of Ouyang Ting. A powerful aura gushed forth from him, sweeping towards Qin Wentian. "If you attack again, even if you are a guest of the Ouyang clan, don't even think about leaving this place alive. You really overestimate yourself." Qin Wentian continued walking forward, and at the instant his foot landed on the ground, a terrifying shockwave blasted onto Ouyang Ting's body. Ouyang Ting's countenance paled as she bent her body and coughed out a mouthful of fresh blood. Her countenance was as white as paper. Inclining her head, Ouyang Ting stared at Qin Wentian with a gaze that couldn't even be described with the word anger. She wanted nothing more than to slice this person in front of her into 1,000 pieces, to wash away the humiliation she had suffered time and time again. Earlier, she had said that even if Qin Wentian arrived, it would still be useless. But now, Qin Wentian directly crushed her, injuring her. A raging wind gusted by as Duan Qingshan's silhouette disappeared from his original location. Qin Wentian's provocation, he had finally made his move. Duan Qingshan released 2 astral souls. These were his second and third astral souls, originating from the 4th heavenly layer respectively. These 2 astral souls were respectively known as the Windstorm Astral Soul and the Gigantic Leg Astral Soul. Duan Qingshan was proficient in leg techniques, and the might of his attacks were extremely terrifying. The strength of a human's legs was already terrifying, but it wasn't as nimble as one's hands. However, if one were to crazily train their legs, they would also be incomparably agile. Duan Qingshan had already cultivated his innate techniques to an extremely profound level. This time around, he released his astral souls to battle. He had to suppress Qin Wentian, and let others know that his, Duan Qingshan's, woman, wasn't someone that Qin Wentian could humiliate. This was already the second time. At this moment, under Duan Qingshan's feet, another 2 illusory legs appeared. He stood in the air, as though he was standing on the ground. Duan Qingshan lifted his gigantic leg and descended from the sky, ruthlessly sweeping towards Qin Wentian. A strong pressure pressed down on Qin Wentian's body. At the same time, a strong wind whistled. That clumsy-looking gigantic leg was actually moving at a terrifying speed. At this moment, the crowd felt an irresistible pressure pressing down on them from the sky. Martial will. Qin Wentian instantly sensed the will of Duan Qingshan's mandate. Not only that, there were 3 types of mandates at the perfection boundary. The first was the first-level insight of the mandate of Great Earth, gravity. The second was the first-level insight of the mandate of wind speed. The third was a type of mandate that Duan Qingshan had comprehended from his gigantic leg astral soul. Hence, in that instant, the pressure that Qin Wentian was enduring was extremely terrifying. The ground beneath his feet emitted cracking sounds as it directly shattered. From this, one could see how much pressure he was enduring. As for Mustang and Luo Huan, their countenances were as pale as a sheet of paper. Pang! The ground trembled and crumbled. Qin Wentian stared at the terrifying pressure as he soared up into the skies. Lifting his palms, a terrifying draconic imprint blasted out, colliding against each other in the air. Qin Wentian and Duan Qingshan were both suspended in the air. Battle. Qin Wentian actually wanted to battle against the heavens chosen of the Ouyang aristocrat clan, Duan Qingshan. This scene caused the hearts of many to tremble. Duan Qingshan's strength couldn't be said to be weak. He was ranked number 25 on the Heavenly Fate rankings, and ranked within the top 36. Qin Wentian was only at the 7th level of Yuanfu, yet he actually dared to clash head-on with Duan Qingshan. The difference between the two of them was an entire 2 levels. Today, you shall pay the price for your actions, Duan Qingshan icily stated. Do you think you can obstruct me with just your strength? Qin Wentian laughed as he swept his gaze over. Ouyang Ting, who was about to lift her head, screamed in agony as her countenance paled. You! Duan Qingshan's rage burned. Qin Wentian actually dared to humiliate his woman in front of him. Qin Wentian's legs trembled as 2 powerful beams of light shot towards Luo Huan and Mustang. Qin Wentian coldly laughed as he punched out with his fists, shattering the 2 beams of light. Stubborn fool. The center of Qin Wentian's brows glowed with a resplendent light as it swept towards Ouyang Ting. Ouyang Ting screamed in agony as she knelt on the ground, her entire body drenched in cold sweat. Even if those from the Ouyang aristocrat clan wanted to help her, they had no way to do so. Qin Wentian's attacks were too bizarre, it was as though he could even attack with his gaze. Duan Qingshan roared in rage. With a twist of his body, both of his legs smashed towards Qin Wentian. Instantly, the afterimages of his legs filled the skies, as though wanting to engulf the entire heavens and earth. Duan Qingshan's leg techniques were incomparably exquisite, able to be fast or slow at will. They could be as swift as the wind, or as heavy as a mountain. The demonic qi radiating from Qin Wentian permeated the skies as his body transformed into that of a terrifying demonic beast. With a howl of rage akin to the roar of an ancient ape, the heavens and earth trembled as the earth crumbled. A screen of demonic qi enveloped his body, and even when the afterimages of Duan Qingshan's legs slammed into him, they were actually unable to break through his defense. Despite Duan Qingshan's strength, he actually had no way to injure Qin Wentian. From this, one could see how terrifying his demonic physique was. However, how could Duan Qingshan be an ordinary person? His body was like a tempest as a gigantic foot stomped down on the heavens and earth, leaving a gigantic footprint in the air. This gigantic foot stomped towards Qin Wentian's head, as though it wanted to crush Qin Wentian into pieces. This sort of pressure was too terrifying. Qin Wentian clenched his fists tightly as a terrifying glint of sharpness flickered in his eyes. In that case, he would let Duan Qingshan experience the might of the 2nd-level mandate of force that he had comprehended. His fist blasted out with indomitable might, blasting towards Duan Qingshan's gigantic foot. It was akin to an insignificant ant trying to shake a gigantic elephant. How foolish and ignorant, like an ant trying to shake a tree. How could an ordinary fist collide with Duan Qingshan's terrifying sure-kill kick? Although that fist seemed to be imbued with Qin Wentian's immense strength, the feeling it gave off was that it could be easily crushed into pieces. The insignificant fist collided with the incomparably terrifying astral leg, and indeed, the spectators only saw Qin Wentian's body being flung through the air as he groaned in agony as he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The strength contained in that kick was incomparable. Even Qin Wentian could feel his internal organs trembling violently from the impact. Wiping away the blood at the corners of his mouth, he stared coldly at Duan Qingshan, only to see Duan Qingshan calmly standing there. In that instant earlier, he felt a terrifying surge of energy gushing into his body, wanting to destroy his life force. Blood gushed up to his throat, but Duan Qingshan's countenance sank as he forcefully suppressed the blood in his mouth. After which, he swallowed it back down. His internal organs were still trembling from the impact, and he circulated the energy in his body to stabilize his blood flow, causing his originally pale countenance to regain some color. Hence, nobody knew the true meaning of this collision. In the end, Qin Wentian was still inferior to Duan Qingshan. He was blasted to the point of coughing out blood, but despite having a cultivation base at the 7th level of Yuanfu, he could still be proud of his combat prowess. Qin Wentian coldly laughed in his heart when he saw the expression on Duan Qingshan's face. He turned his gaze onto Ouyang Ting as a demonic light flickered in the center of his brows. Ouyang Ting inclined her head, coldly staring at Qin Wentian. However, she could feel a terrifying killing intent boring down on her, causing her body to tremble involuntarily. She hurriedly retreated, hiding behind the experts from the Ouyang aristocrat clan. She was afraid, terrified. Qin Wentian stepped forward, but at this moment, a voice drifted over, "Enough." A few Heavenly Dipper sovereigns from the Ouyang aristocrat clan appeared. They glanced at the surroundings, they were well aware of what happened here. Ouyang Ting has already received her punishment. Enough. An old man stared at Qin Wentian as he calmly stated. It's no longer suitable for her to remain in the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Ouyang Quangsheng stepped forward as he stated. I'm already engaged to Ouyang Ting. Ouyang Quangsheng, what do you mean by this? Duan Qingshan retorted, only to see the old man glancing at the others as he continued, this matter will be discussed later. Let's end it here today. After speaking, he turned his gaze onto Ouyang Ting as he commanded, let's return. At this moment, Ouyang Ting no longer had the slightest bit of anger in her heart. Duan Qingshan had actually failed to obstruct Qin Wentian from dealing with her, causing her to be humiliated once again. See you at the Heavenly Fate rankings. Duan Qingshan's eyes flickered with killing intent as he stared at Qin Wentian. You better pray that you don't meet me in the ranking battle. If not, Duan Qingshan's name will no longer appear on the Heavenly Fate rankings. I'm a man of my words. Qin Wentian's voice was ice-cold, causing the hearts of the spectators to tremble. This fellow was truly arrogant enough, daring to say that he wanted to kill Duan Qingshan. Me too. Duan Qingshan replied as he entered the inn. The crowd dispersed, leaving behind only Ouyang Quangsheng, Jiang Ting and a few others. Ouyang, I'm leaving. Qin Wentian stared at Ouyang Quangsheng as he calmly spoke. He knew that Ouyang Ting was someone from the Ouyang aristocrat clan, while he, Qin Wentian, was an outsider. How could the Ouyang aristocrat clan tolerate him acting against Ouyang Ting, even if he was Ouyang Quangsheng's friend? I understand. Ouyang Quangsheng nodded his head as he patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder. You have always been a brother of mine, this has nothing to do with the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Qin Wentian nodded his head, Ouyang, let's work hard together. Let's grow stronger as soon as possible and control the Ouyang aristocrat clan. At that time, when I visit the Ouyang aristocrat clan as a guest, I won't need to bow down to anyone. When I control the Ouyang aristocrat clan, would I still be able to invite you? Ouyang Quangsheng joked. The relationship between the two of them naturally wouldn't be affected by the Ouyang aristocrat clan. The reason why Qin Wentian wanted to leave was because this place belonged to the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Once he left, if he met Ouyang Ting and Duan Qingshan again, he wouldn't be the slightest bit courteous to them. He would definitely fulfill his promise in the ranking battle, and if they met again, he would definitely kill Duan Qingshan. Ouyang Quangsheng also understood this point, there was no need for the two of them to speak. Oi! At this moment, a voice drifted over from afar. Qin Wentian shifted his gaze over, only to see two silhouettes appearing in the distance, staring in his direction. Upon seeing the two of them, a smile appeared in Qin Wentian's eyes. The top 3 rankers of the Heavenly Fate rankings, are you ready? The female of the two silhouettes had a pure and innocent look on her face as she smiled in Qin Wentian's direction. Chapter 350. A warm smile could be seen on Qin Wentian's face. Those who knew that he would definitely contend for the top 3 positions were naturally from the White Deer Institute. Long time no see. Qin Wentian stared at Bailu Jing and Bailu Yi. It had been a year, yet the two of them didn't seem to have changed much. The only difference was that Bailu Yi's strength had grown stronger. Seems like you've been doing well. Bailu Jing laughed as he glanced at the people standing beside Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian landed on the ground and walked to Mustang's side. "Teacher, let me introduce you. This is Ouyang Guangsheng from the Ouyang aristocrat clan, and his fiancée Jiang Ting. These two are Bailu Jing and Bailu Yi from the White Deer Institute in the Moon Continent." A gratified expression flashed in Mustang's eyes. Upon seeing his friends, Qin Wentian's first thought was that he was afraid that he would neglect his teacher. Although Qin Wentian's strength had already far surpassed his, it was still a fact that Qin Wentian's strength far surpassed his own. Also, just by looking at the friends around Qin Wentian, one could already tell that the current Qin Wentian was no longer the young man from Chu. He already had his own piece of heaven and earth, and was currently striding towards an even greater height. The others also greeted Mustang, causing him to nod his head in approval. Although these people were all juniors, none of them were weaker than him. Even the lazy Fanlu, the astral energy fluctuations radiating from him were stronger than his. A new generation replacing the old. Maybe, this is the scene before our eyes. Mustang sighed, yet he was extremely happy. "Only the two of you came?" Qin Wentian glanced at Bailu Yi. "Of course not, we still have to watch the ranking battle of a certain someone. Don't forget, Big Brother will be participating as well." Bailu Yi smiled. "There are quite a few people from the White Deer Institute, why don't you come with us first?" Others naturally didn't understand the meaning of Bailu Yi's words, but Qin Wentian understood. His ranking this time around would determine whether or not he would be able to control the White Deer Institute. Even if Bailu Jing wasn't present, the people from the White Deer Institute would still be here to watch the ranking battle. "Okay." Qin Wentian calmly agreed. The White Deer Institute was different from the Ouyang aristocrat clan. The Ouyang aristocrat clan was too complicated, and other than being friends with Ouyang Guangsheng, there was no one else he could influence. Naturally, the White Deer Institute was closer to him. Not only that, with the help of Fairy Qingmei, even if he didn't obtain the top 3 rankers of the Heavenly Fate rankings, the White Deer Institute would still maintain a close relationship with him. Of course, if he did that, then he would probably be unable to take full control of White Deer Academy. After bidding farewell to Ouyang Guangsheng, Qin Wentian and the rest departed together with Bailu Yi. "What cultivation level are you at now?" Bailu Yi's beautiful eyes stared curiously at Qin Wentian. "7th level of Yuanfu, I should be able to break through to the 8th level by the time the ranking battle begins." Qin Wentian replied. With the limit break pellet, even if he didn't break through to the 8th level, he could still use it to boost his cultivation base. Only then would he have a higher chance of becoming one of the top 3 rankers of the Heavenly Fate rankings. Not only that, Qin Wentian could faintly sense that the intensity of the ranking battle this time around would far surpass his imagination. He had to raise his strength as much as he could in order to increase his chances. "You're still as powerful as ever." Bailu Yi blinked her eyes at Qin Wentian, a look of pleasant surprise could be seen in her eyes. Before she met Qin Wentian, she could be considered an influential figure in her clan, and had always felt that her talent was outstanding. But ever since Qin Wentian entered her academy, she felt that she was too ordinary. Sometimes, when she thought about it, should she blame this fellow for shattering her confidence? She still remembered that when Qin Wentian left the Moon Continent, he had killed Hua Xiaoyun and captured Shu Wanyu. How strong would his combat prowess be when he stepped into the 8th level of Yuanfu? "Brother, you're about to be surpassed." Bailu Yi laughed. Bailu Jing glanced at Bailu Yi as he patted her on the shoulder. "Your brother is about to be surpassed, why are you so happy?" Staring at the smile that was on Bailu Jing's face, Bailu Yi ruthlessly punched him in the face. The White Deer Institute was the same as the Ouyang aristocrat clan, they had also booked an entire inn. Those from the White Deer Institute were all acquainted with Qin Wentian, and they would nod their heads in greeting when they saw him. After all, in name, Qin Wentian had the authority to govern them. Regardless of whether they were willing to be controlled by Qin Wentian or not, they would still give Qin Wentian the respect he deserved. But of course, to Qin Wentian, there was no meaning to it. Bai Lui swiftly arranged the lodgings for Qin Wentian and the others. Qin Wentian and Mustang were both alone in a courtyard. Qin Wentian knew that Mustang had something to say to him, but Mustang didn't say anything on the way there, so he naturally didn't ask. "Teacher, why did you come to Ginkgo?" At this moment, only Qin Wentian and Mustang were present. Qin Wentian asked. Mustang's only wish was to stay in the Emperor Star Academy and guide the students in peace. If it wasn't for some special reason, he wouldn't have traveled thousands of miles to Ginkgo to spectate the ranking battle. Not only that, Mustang, who had lived in Chu for so long, wouldn't know about the ranking battle at all. 9 Mystical Palace. Mustang's countenance sank as he stared at Qin Wentian. "Headmaster, something happened." Qin Wentian's countenance instantly turned cold. These few years, there was one thing he couldn't rest easy about, and that was Senior Dai, who was captured by the 9 Mystical Palace. To Qin Wentian, Dai was his benefactor, and Dai's capture was also related to him. He had always planned to capture a disciple from the 9 Mystical Palace during the ranking battle, in order to gather information about Dai's situation. But who would have thought that the 9 Mystical Palace would make a move first? Luo Qianya from the 9 Mystical Palace came to the Emperor Star Academy and sought me out. He asked me about your whereabouts, but I didn't know. Hence, he brought me along with him, and after some investigation, they finally found this Ginkgo. Initially, they wanted to directly capture you, but because you were together with those from the Ouyang aristocrat clan, they didn't want to alarm the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Hence, they sent me to look for you. The 9 Mystical Palace wanted Qin Wentian to deliver himself to their doorstep. If Qin Wentian didn't comply, Dai and the Emperor Star Academy would still be under the control of the 9 Mystical Palace. If they really wanted to destroy the Emperor Star Academy, they could use some underhanded methods to do so. Qin Wentian was also very clear that although he had killed Luo Qianqiu in the past, that was still a grudge between him and Luo Qianya. At that time, with Ouyang Quansheng and Qian Mengyu around, the 9 Mystical Palace wouldn't dare to offend these two major powers just because of Luo Qianqiu's death. But now, things were different. He didn't know what methods the 9 Mystical Palace used, but they had already obtained the secret of the Azure Emperor token from Dai. The 9 Mystical Palace had been looking for Qin Wentian for the sake of the Azure Emperor token. As long as they obtained the Azure Emperor token, they could easily find someone to impersonate as the successor of the Azure Emperor. In addition to the 9 Mystical Palace's secret support, they would be able to control the power of the Azure Emperor. This temptation was simply too great. Senior Dai must have suffered a lot of torture for so many years to protect this secret. Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. No wonder the 9 Mystical Palace didn't dare to disturb the Ouyang aristocrat clan. This secret, the 9 Mystical Palace naturally didn't want any other powers to know about it. "Teacher, I can't walk into their trap." Qin Wentian stared at Mustang as he spoke. Mustang's eyes flashed with agony. He naturally understood this point, but now, his heart was extremely conflicted, he didn't know what he should do. "If I go to the 9 Mystical Palace, I will die for sure. And after that, Senior Dai and teacher would also be killed by them." Qin Wentian was very clear that once the 9 Mystical Palace obtained the Azure Emperor token, the first thing they would do would be to silence them. "What should we do?" Mustang stared at Qin Wentian as he asked. Qin Wentian furrowed his brows, as an expression of contemplation appeared on his face. Currently, there was only one power that could help him. Fairy Qingmei, Celestial Lake Palace. Qin Wentian murmured. He was starting to miss that fairy-like maiden. She had always been silently protecting him, but ever since the incident in the Moon Continent, he hadn't seen Qin again. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian's countenance abruptly stiffened as he coldly asked, "Who?" As the sound of his voice faded, a silhouette drifted down from the air. That silhouette was as beautiful as ever, as though it didn't belong to the mortal world. Her countenance would never change, and nobody knew what she was thinking. I'm here. Qin Er's melodious voice rang out, waking Qin Wentian from his stupor. Staring at that fairy-like silhouette, a strange expression appeared on Qin Wentian's face. How could this be? Qin had always been by his side. With his current perception, how could he not sense her presence? Qin, when did you get here? Qin Wentian was taken aback. I've always been here. You didn't encounter any life-threatening situations. Qin replied. She had always remembered Fairy Qingmei's words. As long as Qin Wentian didn't die, there was no need for her to appear. Even if he encountered any life-threatening situations, even if he was injured, it was up to him. Then why are you here now? Qin Wentian smiled as he asked. Upon seeing Qin, the heavy pressure in his heart seemed to lighten somewhat. Weren't you the one who called for me? Qin stared at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to be taken aback. After which, a bitter smile appeared on his face as he asked, how did you hide yourself? Why couldn't I sense your presence? Qin Wentian stared at Qin In front of Qin he felt that he had no secrets at all. Qin quietly stared at him, not saying a word. However, upon seeing that otherworldly countenance, Qin Wentian couldn't bring himself to be angry. He could only smile bitterly. Qin, I have something I need the help of the Celestial Lake Palace. It's extremely important. Qin Wentian spoke. Tell me, I'll help you pass the message to the Celestial Lake Palace. Qin replied in a light voice. Help me pass the message to the Celestial Lake Palace. Now that the 9 Mystical Palace knows about the Azure Emperor, they want to use the safety of Dai and the Emperor Star Academy to threaten me. I need the Celestial Lake Palace to temporarily not act blindly without thinking. Qin Wentian believed that as long as Qin passed the message to the Celestial Lake Palace, the Celestial Lake Palace would understand his intentions. This matter wasn't difficult. The Celestial Lake Palace only needed to control a few important figures from the 9 Mystical Palace to temporarily keep them in check. Okay, I'll get them to help you with this matter. Qin nodded her head, her tone was filled with certainty. This caused Qin Wentian to be pleasantly surprised. Looking at Qin he said, thank you, Qin This time around, in the Heavenly Fate rankings, you must obtain a good ranking. These are the words of Master. Qin gazed at Qin Wentian as her beautiful eyes flickered. After which, she added in a melodious voice, I also hope that you will obtain a good ranking. Qin Wentian laughed, heavily nodding his head. Okay, I promise you, I definitely will. Qin lightly nodded her head, as her silhouette flickered, vanishing from sight. This caused Qin Wentian to smile bitterly as he shook his head. Qin was always like this, just like a celestial fairy. At this moment, Mustang was also dumbfounded. This fellow, why did he have so many breathtaking beauties by his side? Bailu Yi's pure and innocent countenance, Mo Qingcheng, the #1 beauty in Chu, and now, the woman who had just appeared gave him a feeling that he was looking at beauties from a painting. Master, I have to cultivate well and make my final preparations for the ranking battle. Qin Wentian smiled at Mustang. With Qin Er's words, he believed that she would definitely be able to do it. As for the matter regarding the 9 Mystical Palace, he would think of a solution after the ranking battle. Chapter 351. More and more people gathered in Ginkgo, the elites of Grand Xia from all over the Grand Xia Empire. The entire city was bustling with activity, and discussions about the ranking battle could be heard in every single inn in Ginkgo. There were only 3 days left before the start of the pilgrimage period. This indicated that the battle for the Heavenly Fate rankings would truly begin 3 days later. Currently, in the airspace above Ginkgo, demonic beasts circled the skies as experts soared through the air. Just by raising their heads, they would be able to see the silhouettes of experts flying through the air. Outside of the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia, there were countless silhouettes gathered. They stared at the ancient kingdom in front of them, the towering pillars towering into the heavens. 99 flights of stairs made from azure dragon jadestone formed the path of pilgrimage, exuding a boundless majesty. This flight of stairs was the entrance to the ancient kingdom, the place of pilgrimage. On the vast land, there were many young elites. Their hearts were filled with anticipation as they stared at the ancient path of pilgrimage, wanting to make a name for themselves in a single battle. How many years of painstaking cultivation was all for the sake of today's battle? If they could make a name for themselves and step into the heavenly fate rankings, there would be no need to worry about their future. The path laid out before them would be much smoother compared to cultivating alone. The various transcendent powers would all invite them to join them, and would focus on nurturing them. The moment they stepped into the transcendent powers, they would instantly become the core of the core. Naturally, there were also those who wanted to compete against the geniuses of the world, tempering themselves. Only by doing so would they be able to sweep away the dark clouds and ascend to the heavens. Who could obstruct them? It said that within the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia, there is the fate of the emperor. If one is able to display a dazzling performance in the ranking battle, their fate would change drastically, a young man and woman murmured in a low voice, filled with anticipation. Naturally, there were also those who came with ulterior motives. For example, Shu Wanyu from the Moon Continent. She stood alone in a corner, her countenance filled with coldness, causing the people in the surroundings to not dare to approach her. Back then, she was once engaged to young Fan. Her talent was extraordinary, and she would eventually be married into the star-seizing manner. However, after she was captured by Qin Wentian, the star-seizing manner started to doubt her innocence, and gradually, they grew distant. In fact, she could even sense that young Fan's attitude towards her had changed. Evidently, he was unhappy with the fact that she was a captive. In a fit of anger, Shu Wanyu broke up with young Fan and took the initiative to cancel the engagement. However, she still couldn't breathe normally today. She wanted to find the person who had kidnapped her back then, Qin Wentian, to settle the debt. However, she didn't know if that crafty fellow, Qin Wentian, would come to Ginkgo to spectate the ranking battle. Shu Wanyu's gaze swept over the surroundings, only to see two silhouettes standing not far away from her. One was an old man, one was a young man, both exuding an extraordinary aura. The old man then asked, Di Feng, are you prepared for the heavenly fate rankings? Di Feng stared at the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia. His chest was filled with hot blood, and an incomparably strong self-confidence radiated from him. A confident smile appeared on his handsome face as he replied in a low voice, I'm here to fight for the top position. You've been in seclusion for so many years, all for this opportunity to shake Grand Xia. The heavenly fate rankings has an extraordinary meaning to you. If you can obtain it, your position would be unshakable, and in the future, you would be able to command the hidden faction. Let them know who you really are, the old man murmured, as he calmly continued, but this time around, you must remember not to neglect your opponents. Chen Wang, Sherpatian, they have yet to break through to Heavenly Dipper, and will be your greatest competitors. Di Feng nodded his head lightly, yet the self-confidence radiating from him was unshakable. Come again 3 days later. The old man faintly spoke. After which, he turned and departed together with Di Feng, causing Shu Wanyu's beautiful eyes to flicker with a strange light. What an arrogant tone, wanting to fight for the top position. Not only that, the old man seemed to be extremely confident in himself, as though only Chen Wang and Sherpatian were his opponents. Among the top few rankers on the heavenly fate rankings, the first ranker, Hua Taishu, and the fourth ranker, Jing Wu, had already broken through to Heavenly Dipper. In that case, the strongest among them should be Chen Wang, Sherpatian, and Emperor Azure. Could it be that this young man didn't even care about Emperor Azure? What she didn't know was that Di Feng and Emperor Azure were the same person, and were also the most mysterious ranker on the heavenly fate rankings. Shu Ruanyu turned her gaze over, as her beautiful eyes froze. She saw yet another strange scene. The young man with Di Feng who was preparing to leave also halted his steps, as he glanced at the person beside him in bewilderment. Beside him, two strange silhouettes could be seen. One of them was a maiden clad in tattered robes, her body covered in dust. Her hair was dry, and had already turned yellow. Only her eyes were extremely clear, and when she turned her head back to glance at the person behind her, her eyes were filled with worry. This maiden should be very young, and the person behind her was being dragged along by her. She used wood and bamboo to weave a tattered bamboo bed, dragging it forward. On the bamboo bed, there was also a figure clad in tattered robes, sitting there like a beggar. His hair was disheveled, and black cheek could be seen on his face, as though he would die at any moment. However, the aura he exuded was so cold that it caused those who passed by him to involuntarily step away from him. A cripple like him actually came to spectate the ranking battle. Some passers-by had expressions of disgust on their faces as they mocked. The maiden clad in tattered robes inclined her head, glaring at the person who spoke. "You are not allowed to say such things about my Feng Gage, he is not a cripple. This beggar lass is pretty amusing." "Feng Gage? Little lass, how old are you? You already have a lover." The mockery in the eyes of the passers-by grew even more intense. The young man sitting on the bamboo bed acted as though nothing had happened, he was still as quiet as ever, not even his eyelids twitching. Scram! The maiden cursed in a low voice when she saw the passers-by blocking her path. "Yo, your temper is so bad. Although you are a little dirty, you still look pretty fresh. If you take a bath, you might even be a little beauty. Do you want to follow me back to help you wash your body?" The passers-by laughed, as did the two beside him, causing the maiden to tremble in anger. At this moment, the eyelids of the young man sitting on the bamboo bed twitched as he lifted his head to glance at them. The passers-by cursed again, but at this moment, their bodies suddenly convulsed violently as their glabella turned black. After which, all of them softly slumped to the ground. Such a scene caused the spectators to tremble involuntarily. What was going on? There wasn't the slightest bit of vitality in those people. They died in an instant, their countenances completely black. Shu Ruanyu also had an expression of shock on her face when she saw this scene. The young man on the bamboo bed had only lifted his eyelids slightly, and those people had already died. "Feng Gage, can you not be like this?" The maiden turned her head back when she saw this scene. Her heart softened as she stared at the young man pitifully. "I've arrived, you can leave now." The young man finally spoke. His voice was exceptionally cold, so cold that it could seep into the bones of those who heard it. "I'm not leaving, you are not allowed to make me leave." The maiden spoke in an aggrieved tone. Scram! The young man inclined his head, a terrifying light flashed in his eyes as he stared at the maiden. However, the maiden had no fear as she replied, "No matter what you become, I will always love you. Even if you kill me, I won't leave." The eyelids of the young man twitched, but his eyes were as cold as ever. Nobody knew what he was thinking in his heart. Poison, this person is using poison. He must have cultivated in a poison art. At this moment, someone exclaimed in shock. The faces of those who died were so black that they didn't even look human anymore. This was a clear sign that they had been poisoned. When they looked at the young man again, there was no longer any mockery or contempt in his eyes. There was only fear in his eyes. Could it be him? A name suddenly appeared in Shu Ruanyu's mind, causing her heart to involuntarily tremble. Mu Feng was a character ranked number 7 on the Heavenly Fate rankings. It was rumored that he was the youngest of the top 10 rankers, and his attainments in the field of poison had already reached the pinnacle of perfection. His talent was so high that no one didn't fear him, and he was also the disciple of the poison monarch of Grand Xiao. There were many rumors about Mu Feng. Some said that although Mu Feng was proficient in the Tao of poison, he was extremely loyal to his friends. His character was forthright and straightforward, and he loved to make friends. Sometimes, when the Poison King ordered him to kill people to cultivate his poison arts, he dared to disobey. If it wasn't for the fact that the Poison King saw his talent, he would have long since killed him. The Poison King was truly ruthless. Not only that, it was said that although Mu Feng was proficient in the Tao of poison, he was also a suave and elegant character. However, the person in front of them was extremely sinister and terrifying. Not only that, he was actually dragged here by a maiden. This didn't seem like Mu Feng's style at all. And at this moment, Shu Wanyu's gaze suddenly froze. She stared in the direction of the voice as her beautiful eyes involuntarily narrowed. It's him, that fellow has appeared. Qin Wentian, and that damnable fatty, the fatty who always threatened her and wanted to take off her clothes. Qin Wentian and the rest surveyed the ancient kingdom in front of them. In his heart, Qin Wentian couldn't help but be shocked. Indeed, this place was very similar to the one in his memories. In the memories left behind by his father, he had passed by this place, the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia. At this moment, he seemed to have sensed something. His gaze shifted in a certain direction, and when he saw Shu Wanyu, a strange light involuntarily flashed in his eyes. What a coincidence, this woman actually came here as well. And after a year of not seeing her, Shu Wanyu had already broken through to the 9th level of Yuanfu. At this moment, Qin Wentian felt another pair of eyes staring at him. Shifting his gaze over, he saw that the strange person was none other than Mu Feng, who was sitting on the bamboo bed. Mu Feng's gaze was filled with boundless venom as he stared at Qin Wentian, as though he wanted to dismember Qin Wentian into a million pieces. That kind of venom caused Qin Wentian to feel his entire body turning cold, as though a chill was seeping into his bones. What's going on? Qin Wentian furrowed his brows. He didn't recognize this person. This should be the first time he met him. Why was this person staring at him with such a venomous gaze? Be careful, Qin Wentian warned in a low voice. Those beside him also noticed Mu Feng's presence. Qin Wentian. A voice that seemed to originate from the depths of hell drifted over, causing Qin Wentian to freeze. Did this person really know him? Not only that, other than the coldness in Mu Feng's eyes, there was also a hint of bloodlust in them. You are? Qin Wentian asked in bewilderment. You actually pretended not to know me? Ridiculous, ridiculous. Mu Feng's killing intent towered up into the skies, as a terrifying black chi gushed forth from him. Qin Wentian only felt his entire body turning cold as a terrifying venomous intent seeped into his body. Chapter 352. Qin Wentian stared at Mu Feng. He could clearly feel the rage in Mu Feng's eyes. Sir, is there a misunderstanding? I really don't know you, Qin Wentian continued. In his memories, there was no such person in front of him. Mu Feng's body was shrouded in a layer of mist. He stared at Qin Wentian and the rest as killing intent flickered in his eyes. Leave. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. In that instant, he felt an indescribable sense of discomfort. It was as though a surge of poison qi had seeped into his body, corroding his insides. The person in front of him was a poison expert, and an extremely terrifying one at that. Bai Lu Yi's countenance instantly turned black. This scene caused a terrifying light to flash in Bai Lu Jing's eyes. Stay your hand. Qin Wentian glanced at Bai Lu Yi, as an intense rage erupted in his heart. He didn't recognize this person, but he knew that this person was extremely ruthless and had already threatened their lives. In the Grand Xia Empire, poison cultivators had to be extremely vigilant. Even if their cultivation base was lower than yours, the slightest mistake could result in death in their hands. The name of the poison monarch was a taboo in Grand Xia. Even those transcendent powers wouldn't dare to antagonize him. In the history of Grand Xia, the Poison Monarch was the culprit. It was said that when he was young, the Poison Monarch hailed from a powerful clan. He was handsome and worked hard in his cultivation, but his fiancée was kidnapped and brutally murdered. When the Poison Monarch's clan went to seek justice, they were almost annihilated instead. After that, the Poison Monarch appeared many times to poison the members of his clan, causing a storm every time he appeared. Finally, the last time the Poison Monarch appeared, his poison arts had already reached the grand completion level. In a fit of rage, he turned a clan of over 10,000 people into a pile of corpses in a single night, leaving not a single survivor. This incident shocked the entire Grand Xia, and from then on, the Poison Monarch became a taboo. Nobody dared to antagonize him. Anyone who faced a poison expert would have to be extremely cautious, or the consequences would be dire. Qin Wentian's eyes grew even colder when he saw Bai Lu Yi's countenance turning black. With a clench of his fist, the maiden beside Mu Feng screamed in agony as a raging wind kicked up. Qin Wentian coldly stated, "If you continue, I will kill her." Mu Feng coldly glanced at the girl beside him, "I told you to scram." Then, he looked at Qin Wentian and said, "Okay, I'll only kill you. All of you, retreat." Qin Wentian spoke to the people around him, causing them to open up a path for him. Only Mu Feng remained seated on the bamboo bed, facing off against Qin Wentian. A gust of black wind swept past. Qin Wentian held his breath. His blood seemed to be roaring uncontrollably. Will of blood. Qin Wentian glanced at the other party. This person was very strong. Mu Feng's body directly floated up into the air. His left hand sliced across his right palm, causing fresh blood to flow out. It was actually black blood. The black wind whistled. Mu Feng's body directly drifted towards Qin Wentian, his speed as quick as lightning. Qin Wentian felt a piercing pain in his eyes, as though his skin was about to corrode. His entire body felt extremely uncomfortable, extremely unbearable. This was what a poison expert was like. It was extremely dangerous. The blood in Qin Wentian's body seethed as demonic qi towered up into the skies. His body was clad in demonic armor, and upon seeing Mu Feng rushing towards him, he blasted out with his palms. The roars of dragons echoed out as a fearsome dragon imprint containing a towering amount of power blasted towards Mu Feng. Mu Feng's eyes were ice-cold as he spat out a mouthful of blood at Qin Wentian. The black blood flowed with the wind, flying towards Qin Wentian. His body bore the brunt of the terrifying might as he arrived beside Qin Wentian. His palms blasted out, colliding head-on with Qin Wentian's explosive might. Qin Wentian retreated. It was extremely rare for him to be forced to retreat in a contest of strength. But this time around, he chose to retreat. His opponent's entire body was covered in poison. He had no choice but to be cautious. However, Mu Feng had comprehended the mandate of wind and had already reached the perfection boundary of the first level. How fast was his speed? A ruthless light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes when he saw this. The divine energy in his Yuanfu rumbled madly, bringing with it a terrifying bloodline as it gushed towards his arm. Abruptly, Qin Wentian didn't retreat but advanced instead. With a fearsome might, he blasted out a terrifying palm imprint towards Mu Feng. His palm turned golden in color, resembling the sharp claws of a golden dragon, indestructible. Pang! Terrifying energies collided as both palms collided. Mu Feng spat out a mouthful of blood towards Qin Wentian, while Qin Wentian retreated explosively. Droplets of black blood seeped into his palm, and in an instant, Qin Wentian felt his arm turning numb. A terrifying corrosive might frenziedly corroded his arm, extending towards his entire body. In the blink of an eye, Qin Wentian's blood turned black. His internal organs, meridians and Yuanfu were all corroded, and his countenance turned as black as ink. Qin Wentian's countenance drastically changed. He directly sat on the ground as he stared in shock at Mu Feng. Mu Feng wasn't in a good state either. How terrifying was the might of Qin Wenqian's attack. His entire arm was shattered, and even his internal organs were destroyed. His entire person was curled up into a ball on the ground, as fresh blood dyed the ground red. Feng Gij. The girl beside him was so frightened that tears streamed down her face. She helped move Feng up as her body trembled. Wentian. Bai Lui and the rest also rushed to Qin Wenqian's side. Their countenances were all extremely unsightly to behold. He's Mu Feng, ranked number 7 on the Heavenly Fate rankings. His combat prowess might be weaker, but his poison arts are extremely terrifying. Bai Lu Jing's countenance was filled with anxiety as he continued, Wentian has been poisoned by blood. Black qi circulated around Qin Wenqian's body as he stared at Mu Feng. How could the poison in that blood be so terrifying? If such a powerful poison technique struck a Heavenly Dipper sovereign, that Heavenly Dipper sovereign would suffer the same fate as him. I have no enmity with you, why are you doing this? Qin Wentian stared fixedly at Mu Feng. Mu Feng should know what the consequences would be if he were to receive this attack head-on. Not only that, his friends were all here, and if Mu Feng poisoned Qin Wentian to death, Mu Feng would die as well. Qin Wentian couldn't understand the deep hatred between them. No enmity. Why are you doing this? Qin Wentian, I've always treated you like a brother. You bastard, not only did you humiliate my younger sister, you even cruelly killed my parents. If I don't kill you, how can I have the face to continue living in this world? Mu Feng's eyes were filled with hatred as he glared at Qin Wentian. Even at this moment, his anger still couldn't be quelled. He couldn't forget the look of humiliation in his eyes when he saw his younger sister dying naked in their home. He couldn't forget the tragic deaths of his family members. He had always treated Qin Wentian like a brother, yet he had to suffer such a fate. How laughable was it that he had once said that he wanted to participate in the ranking battle together with Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's countenance was incredibly unsightly to behold. He had never done such a thing, yet Mu Feng's decisiveness wasn't a lie. How laughable, because of something he didn't even know, the two of them had fought so fiercely. I'll only say one thing, I don't even know who you are. I have no idea what you're talking about. Qin Wentian closed his eyes. His countenance was still as black as before, and even his entire body was shrouded in black qi. It was as though he was on the brink of death. It was unknown when Qin appeared. Her countenance was pale as she walked to the side of Qin Wentian. She squatted down as she stared at Qin Wentian. I don't know. Qin stared at Qin Wentian, as an expression of self-blame appeared on her face. She didn't know that the collision with Qin Wentian would cause Qin Wentian to be on the brink of death. I don't blame you. Qin Wentian opened his eyes, squeezing out a smile before closing them once more. At this moment, Fan Lu and Chu Mang howled in rage. Both of them took out their bows and aimed their arrows at Mu Feng, their killing intent terrifying to the extreme. Die! Fan Li's eyes reddened. Don't! The maiden beside Mu Feng stood in front of him, using both her hands to protect him. She stared at Fan Lu and Chu Mang, I beg of you, please don't. Scram! Mu Feng roared in a low voice. However, the maiden shook her head repeatedly as tears streamed down her cheeks. Even if he dies, I want him to die knowing the truth. Fan Lu stared at Mu Feng, who was standing behind the maiden, as he asked, you said that my brother humiliated and killed your clan members. And where is your clan located at? Mu Feng coldly stared at Fan Lu, he didn't reply. However, the maiden continued, half a year ago, that incident happened outside the spirit continent. Because of that incident, Feng Gij suffered from a poison attack in his heart, causing him to be heavily injured. After which, he chose to cultivate an even more ruthless poison art, all for the sake of revenge. Your friend is so cruel, yet you guys still want to help him. Bullshit, us brothers have been cultivating in the unmatched realm of the Azure continent for half a year now. Everyone in the unmatched realm knows about this, and after that, we challenged the heavenly steel platform under the watchful eyes of everyone in the Azure continent before coming to Ginkgo. When did we ever go to the Spirit continent? You're simply slandering us. Fan Lu roared in rage. Scram, he has to die. If not, I will kill you as well. Nonsense. Chu Mang was so angry that his entire body was trembling. Upon hearing their words, the maiden's countenance paled. Impossible. I can testify as well. Qin Er slowly walked over. Staring at that fairy-like silhouette, the maiden had a feeling that Mu Feng wouldn't lie. Not to mention, there was no need for him to lie at this moment. How can this be? I've known him for so many days, how can I mistake him for someone else? Mu Feng coughed out another mouthful of blood. After the poison attacked his heart, he cultivated a terrifying poison art, almost causing him to die from the poison. He fused the poison into his blood, using all of his strength to protect it, not daring to waste even the slightest bit. All the way here, it was the maiden in front of him who had dragged him here. All he wanted to do was to poison Qin Wentian to death. How could he be mistaken? At this moment, Qin Wentian was also speechless. Given how crazy Mu Feng was, there was no way he would lie. In that case, there was only one possibility. Someone was impersonating him, intentionally framing him, causing Mu Feng to travel thousands of miles just to poison him. Only to see that within Qin Wentian's body, the terrifying poison had already invaded the candlelight, yet it had no way to extinguish it. With an intention of his will, Qin Wentian circulated the golden threads around the candlelight, and as expected, the terrifying poison actually dissipated into nothingness, causing Qin Wentian to feel a sense of relief in his heart. There was hope, the power of his bloodline could counter the terrifying poison of Mu Feng. Qin Wentian's heart was filled with terror. If Mu Feng could use such a terrifying poison art as he pleased, even those on the heavenly fate rankings would have to fear him. No one could guarantee that they would be able to escape unscathed. Chapter 353. Chu Mang and Fan Lu couldn't be bothered with Mu Feng's words. Regardless of whether it was a misunderstanding or he had mistaken Mu Feng for someone else, no matter what, Mu Feng had to die. Scram! Chu Mang roared in rage at the lady in front of him. Fan Li's arrow pierced through the air, its speed as fast as lightning. Wait! At the same instant, Qin Wentian's voice drifted over. Fan Li's countenance stiffened as he saw the arrow changing direction. The arrow that was initially aimed at Mu Feng was now shot off into the distance. Fan Lu turned his head to look at Qin Wentian, only to see that Qin Wentian's countenance had regained some color. His eyes couldn't help but narrow in surprise. Don't kill him yet. Qin Wentian's eyes were still tightly shut. The golden strands of light flowed through his body, dispelling the black-colored poison, healing his damaged meridians and internal organs. His countenance gradually regained some color, and upon seeing this, Bai Lui and the rest were all filled with joy. Everything was fine now. Qin Wentian was currently suppressing the poison that was invading his body. Who? Qin Wentian exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Opening his eyes, he saw Qin Er staring at him with her clear eyes. Not only that, an expression of joy could be seen on her face, as though she was happy to see that he was safe and sound. But when Qin Wentian opened his eyes, her countenance returned to normal. She was still as cold as ever, with no fluctuations in her heart. Qin Er, you look very beautiful when you smile. Qin Wentian smiled at Qin Er. Qin Er's eyelashes fluttered, but she didn't say anything. After which, she turned her gaze away, not looking at Qin Wentian. With regards to this, Qin Wentian was already used to it. If Qin Er was able to keep smiling, that would be abnormal instead. Standing up, Qin Wentian walked towards Mu Feng, only to see an expression of shock on Mu Feng's face. How was this possible? Qin Wentian was actually able to survive after being poisoned by his blood poison. Are you certain that I'm the one who killed your clan members? Qin Wentian stared at Mu Feng, standing right in front of him and the young woman, allowing Mu Feng to examine him in detail. Mu Feng also stared at Qin Wentian, scrutinizing him from head to toe, before looking into Qin Wentian's eyes. This can't be right, how can this be? They're clearly the same person, but why are they so different in terms of aura, and figure, how can this be? Mu Feng's face was pale as he coughed out a few more mouthfuls of black blood. In the past year, other than Sangzhou City, I've only been to Jinzhou City. I've never been to any other place, let alone kill your family members. I don't even know why you tried to kill me just now. If you're not lying, then someone must be impersonating me. That Qin Wentian, you know, how strong is his cultivation base? Qin Wentian also wanted to know who was the one who impersonated him and did such a despicable thing. This person was the one who truly deserved to die. I've only exchanged blows with him for a short period of time. He's extremely strong, and from the aura he exuded, his cultivation base should be the same as mine, 9th level of Yuanfu. I've always been at the 7th level of Yuanfu. Qin Wentian released his own aura. This point, regardless of my friends or enemies, they all know. Shu Wanyu, you should be able to testify for me, right? A year ago when I was still in the Moon Continent, my cultivation base was only at the 5th level of Yuanfu. Qin Wentian glanced at Shu Wanyu, causing her beautiful eyes to freeze. Initially, she wanted to settle the debt with Qin Wentian, but when she saw Mu Feng and Qin Wentian exchanging blows, she knew that Qin Wentian's strength was even higher than hers. Not only that, even Chu Mang and that fatty were already extremely powerful. At this moment, upon seeing Qin Wentian taking the initiative to look at her, Shu Wanyu's countenance turned extremely unsightly. Mu Feng, I'm afraid you've been framed by someone. Although this person isn't a good person, he wouldn't be that crazy. Back then, although he captured me, he didn't touch me at all. Also, look at the women around him, is it really necessary for him to do such a thing for your sister? Shu Wanyu spoke to Mu Feng, her words causing Qin Wentian to be stunned. This woman was actually so kind-hearted that she would speak up for him. Back then, Shu Wanyu hated him to the bones. Qin Wentian pondered for a moment before understanding. Most probably, after Shu Wanyu returned to the Moon Continent, she wanted to clear her name for him because of the rumors about her being captured by him. Mu Feng glanced at Luo Huan and Bai Lui, both of them were exceedingly beautiful. Although his younger sister was very beautiful, these two weren't inferior in the slightest. And when he looked at Qin, even with his mental fortitude, he couldn't help but feel his heart stirring. In that case, had he really been framed by someone? As he thought of this, Mu Feng's countenance was filled with incomparable agony. What about his enemy? He had risked his life to kill Qin Wentian, but in the end, he had killed the wrong person. Not only that, he didn't even know who his enemy was, causing him to fall into such a miserable state. His heart was filled with hatred. As he thought of this, the energy in his body finally had no way to prevent the poison from erupting forth. Instantly, his entire body was engulfed by the poison, as his entire body turned pitch black. Upon seeing this scene, the people in the surroundings all retreated, not daring to get close. They didn't expect that Mu Feng had been so heavily injured all this time, and with the poison corroding his body, he had used his entire cultivation base to seal the poison, all for the sake of killing Qin Wentian. Even if he managed to kill Qin Wentian, the poison would still act up in his body. Feng Gij. The young woman paled when she saw the changes in Mu Feng. She wanted to rush forward, but Qin Wentian waved his hands as a surge of energy enveloped her. After which, Qin Wentian stepped out, pulling her along as he spoke, if you go forward, you will die for sure. I will go together with Feng Gij. Tears flowed unceasingly down the young woman's cheeks as she stared at Qin Wentian. I'm really sorry for what happened earlier, I hope you can forgive me. Although Feng Gij cultivates poison arts, his character is very good, and he loves to make friends. If not, he wouldn't have been plotted against by someone back then. That incident was too much of a blow to him, and that's why he chose to cultivate a poison art that he couldn't suppress. He never intended to live, and that's why he kept chasing me away. I know he was very fierce to me, and he told me to scram because he didn't want me to die with him. Qin Wentian cast a glance at Mu Feng, who was covered in poisonous gas, as he sighed in his heart. Although Mu Feng had almost taken his life earlier, Mu Feng couldn't be blamed for this. Anyone who had encountered such a cruel situation would surely go crazy. Who was the one who was so cruel to frame him? Not only that, the culprit seemed to have known that he would be participating in the ranking battle. This was why Mu Feng was so angry that he rushed here from thousands of miles away just to kill him. If it weren't for the fact that he and Mu Feng were both on the brink of death, there wouldn't have been a chance to clarify things. If he didn't die, then Mu Feng would. The actions of the culprit could be said to be extremely vicious. Let me help you take a look at him. Qin Wentian pulled the young woman over to Bai Lu Yi's side, while he walked towards Mu Feng. At this moment, Mu Feng's poison aura had gone out of control, but he was still clear-headed. You cultivate poison arts, how did you end up in such a state? Qin Wentian asked. In a moment of desperation, I cultivated a tyrannical poison art. I had no way to digest the poison aura, and could only use my own strength to suppress it, allowing it to fuse with my blood. Mu Feng's voice was weak as he stared at Qin Wentian. I almost killed you, and I don't beg for forgiveness. I only regret that I wasn't able to kill my true enemy with my own hands. If you manage to find him in the future, you must definitely kill him. Also, little Min, she has a kind heart, I hope you won't make things difficult for her. I have a set of acupuncture techniques that can stimulate one's potential, allowing every part of your body to be in a state of activity. However, it's also extremely dangerous, and the slightest mistake could result in death. Do you want to give it a try? Qin Wentian asked Mu Feng. Mu Feng stared at Qin Wentian. At this moment, if Qin Wentian wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping his palms. Life and death are decreed by fate. Since I'm about to die, why wouldn't I dare to give it a try? Mu Feng spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly and squatted down beside Mu Feng. He retrieved a silver needle and pierced it into the center of Mu Feng's brows, the back of his ears, his forehead, his chest, his arms. Very swiftly, Mu Feng's body began to tremble as an expression of extreme agony appeared on his face. You're right, life and death are decreed by fate. However, the possibility of death is much higher. If you want revenge, it's best if you live on. Qin Wentian spoke as though he was speaking of something extremely ordinary. This set of acupuncture techniques was taught to him by Uncle Black, and was named the extremity acupuncture technique. It could stimulate one's potential, allowing the organs and blood to be in a state of activity. However, if one couldn't withstand it, there was a possibility that one's body would explode and die. Not only that, after the acupuncture was applied, the target would be in a state of extreme weakness. Such an acupuncture technique was extremely dangerous, but Mu Feng was already on the verge of death from the backlash of the poison aura. The energy in his body couldn't withstand it, and he could only use poison to fight poison. After the acupuncture treatment was completed, Qin Wentian retreated, only to see Mu Feng's body trembling violently. The astral energy from the needles seeped into Mu Feng's body, causing the needles to emit a faint astral glow. Feng Gij. The girl Bai Lu Yi was holding on to wanted to rush up to Mu Feng, but how could Bai Lu Yi let go? Many spectators watched from afar, witnessing this crazy scene. At this moment it was as though Mu Feng had truly gone mad. He let out a series of low growls as his body was surrounded by a terrifying poison mist. In fact, Mu Feng's countenance had turned extremely malevolent. His face contorted and his body contorted, as though he was in so much pain that he wished he were dead. Lu Min's tears flowed unceasingly, her heart ached as she stared at Mu Feng's current state. Yet Mu Feng still persisted, no matter how much pain he felt. Although he screamed unceasingly, Mu Feng's eyes were still filled with determination. He couldn't die, he had to live on and find his enemy. The disciple of the Poison Monarch, the number 7 ranker on the Heavenly Fate rankings, Mu Feng, is actually in such a miserable state, on the verge of death. If he dies, there would undoubtedly be one less terrifying character in the ranking battle. This would be beneficial to those at the top of the Heavenly Fate rankings. There were some who wished for Mu Feng's death. If he died, they wouldn't have to face him. The disciple of the Poison Monarch was definitely one of the people they didn't want to face. Roar! Finally, Mu Feng let out an earth-shattering roar as the poison aura around him frenziedly gushed into his body, disappearing completely. Mu Feng's head tilted to the side as he finally stopped struggling. Dead? The countenances of the spectators froze. Mu Feng died just like that. Qin Wentian walked forwards as his countenance flickered. Mu Feng's breathing was still present, he was still alive. Qin Wentian squatted down and stretched out his hands, placing them on Mu Feng's palms. But an instant later, he retracted his palms as wisps of black qi circulated around them. Qin Wentian's heart trembled, the poison aura in Mu Feng's body was even more terrifying than before. At this moment, Mu Feng's eyes opened as he stared at Qin Wentian. His gaze was as cold as ever, exuding an aura of coldness. Mu Feng's body struggled slightly, but to his surprise, Mu Feng actually managed to stand up. His eyes swept over the people in the surroundings before casting a deep glance at Qin Wentian. After which, he turned around and left the area. Feng Gij. Lu Min dashed forward, supporting Mu Feng's body. Qin Wentian saw that the poison aura from Mu Feng's body didn't corrode Lu Min's body. This scene caused an expression of astonishment to appear on Qin Wentian's face. Seems like the method of using poison to counter poison had worked. Not only that, Mu Feng wasn't in a weakened state, he could even walk on his own. The reason why he could survive this ordeal was naturally because Mu Feng had an incomparably resolute heart. He couldn't die. That silhouette gradually faded away as the crowd dispersed. At this moment, they didn't know that in the future, this weak-looking young man would become an existence like the Poison Monarch. In fact, he was even more terrifying than the Poison Monarch. Chapter 354. Qin Wentian stared at Mu Feng as he left. Mu Feng's personality had undergone a drastic change after suffering such an unexpected calamity. However, Mu Feng's heart grew more and more resolute. That terrifying poison qi actually failed to kill him, and instead, under the dual stimulation of the poison qi, he managed to survive. His desire for vengeance was so strong that it was terrifying. Shifting his gaze, Qin Wentian turned to Shu Ruanyu as he smiled, dumped by Yang Fan. Shu Ruanyu frowned when she heard this. She stared at Qin Wentian as she gritted her teeth. I was the one who suggested a breakup. Qin Wentian smiled lightly, it seemed like his guess was right. The major powers placed great importance on their reputations. Although he didn't do anything to Shu Ruanyu, and Shu Ruanyu was still innocent, it was true that he had abducted her for a period of time. It was inevitable that he would be criticized by others, and because of this, a rift was formed between them, which eventually led to their breakup. Back then, it was you who wanted to kill me, that's why I captured you. This matter ends here. If you continue to pester me, I won't let you off so easily. Qin Wentian faintly spoke. Beside him, Fan Le had a despicable smile on his face as he stared at Shu Ruanyu. Be careful that I don't want you to warm my bed. Shu Ruanyu bit her lips as she stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. After a moment of silence, she unwillingly turned and left. Qin Wentian didn't care about Shu Ruanyu. He slowly walked forward, arriving at the entrance of Grand Xia, directly facing the ancient royal palace. In front of him, there were 99 azure dragon jadestone steps on the ancient pathway, exuding an incomparably majestic aura. At the top of the steps, there were 9 gigantic drums. Only those who were qualified to pay their respects to the ancient kingdom would have to fight for the heavenly fate. However, on both sides of the azure dragon jadestone staircase, there were paths that branched off into the sky, parallel to the ancient path. This was the ancient path that only the members of the 36 Overlord level forces had the qualifications to ascend. As for the other path, one could only proceed in a straight line, and one had to look up into the sky. It was rumored that these 2 pathways, the heavenly path, were once prepared for the royal clans of Grand Xia to inspect the troops of Grand Xia. Today, when the young geniuses were competing for the heaven's will, these 2 paths were the spectator paths. Ascending the stairs, sounding the drums, making pilgrimages, contending for the mandate of heaven, how many outstanding figures had emerged, and how many heroes had fallen. This path was exceedingly cruel. Eventually, only 360 people would be able to contend for the position of heavenly fate, becoming the heavenly fate rankings. Out of the 360 rankers on the heavenly fate rankings, only 36 of them could be considered geniuses of Grand Xia. How many heroes would fall on this path? Qin Wentian stood there, looking at the ancient road ahead. Grand Xia was vast and there were many heroes within. All of them came here for the mandate of heaven. Every one of them had struggled for many years and had countless experiences and stories. They all dreamed of becoming famous in Grand Xia and looking down on the world. He didn't know what kind of powerful opponent he would face, nor did he know what kind of danger he would encounter, but he knew that his will would not die, and his original heart would not change. He needed this battle to become one of the top 3 rankers on the heavenly fate rankings. Only by controlling the White Deer Institute would he be able to establish a foothold in Grand Xia. He needed this battle to defeat Zhang Chen. Only then would he have the qualifications to be together with Qin Cheng. He needed this battle to let the people of Grand Xia know who he was. Closing his eyes, Qin Wentian entered a meditative state, forgetting everything. A light breeze brushed past his ears, as the sounds of the boundless universe drifted into his ears. In a certain space, an old man stared at the young man beside him as he spoke, "Son, your talent is outstanding and you've cultivated for many years. This battle will be the time for you to make a name for yourself." In another space, a young man smiled at his family, "Father, Mother, Grandpa, don't worry. I will definitely do my best." There was also a young girl who stared at her elder brother. She raised her fist and pouted, "Brother, you have to do your best. This time around, there might be many beauties who will fall in love with you. At that time, you can marry a sister-in-law for me." The advice of elders, the advice of friends, and the heroic words of the young man, all gathered together. They were all ordinary people, yet they were all extraordinary. But this time around, many of them would be eliminated, and some would fall. This was the baptism of fate. Since they wanted to fight, they had to face the cruelty of fate. Fan Lo walked up, staring at Qin Wentian as though he wanted to call out to him. Yet Luo Huan waved her hands, blocking him. Chu Mang sat down beside Qin Wentian, quietly sitting on the ground. Luo Huan smiled, contemplating the face before her. Regardless of whether he succeeded or not, she would always be proud of this junior brother of hers. This wasn't the Junlin banquet, and this place wasn't Chu. This time around, Qin Wentian would be facing off against the heroes of Grand Xia. Qin Er also stared at Qin Wentian as a strange light flashed in her eyes, as though she was thinking of something. After which, she turned and slowly walked away. The Bailu siblings stared at the 99 steps ahead, their hearts filled with boundless anticipation and yearning. More and more people gathered here, but the crowd didn't leave. They were all waiting for the start of the ranking battle. Countless scenes flashed through Qin Wentian's mind. It felt like an instant, yet it also felt like an eternity. These 3 days were like a dream. A dream, past. When Qin Wentian opened his eyes, he felt a sense of wonder. These 3 days passed too quickly. He faintly felt as though he wanted to grab hold of something, yet he couldn't. This feeling was too marvelous. The entire space seemed to be filled with the sound of tsunamis. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared upwards, only to see many silhouettes walking towards the ancient pathway in the air, arriving at the end of the flight of stairs leading to the pathway. Among these people, Qin Wentian saw some familiar faces. For example, Luo He from the Pill Emperor Hall, and the experts from the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Qin Wentian knew that these people were from the 36 transcendent powers. The 9 transcendent powers standing in the middle were undoubtedly the strongest: Chen clan, Venerate Heaven's sect, Shi clan, Wang clan, Pill Emperor Hall, Hua clan, Swallow Swordsman, Ouyang aristocrat clan, and Sky Demon sect. As for the 3 in the middle, the one on the left was from the Chen clan, the one on the right was from the Shi clan, and the one in the middle was from the Venerate Heaven's sect. These 3 transcendent powers, as the hosts, could be considered half the master of the Venerate Heaven's sect. The person from the Venerate Heaven's sect was an old man, exuding a faintly discernible aura. Qin Wentian noticed that countless people had expressions of respect on their faces. Because, this old man was the leader of the Venerate Heaven's sect, Old Man Tianji. Old Man Tianji was able to observe the constellations, prying into the future of Grand Xiao. Under his governance, the Venerate Heaven's sect didn't like conflict, but no one dared to underestimate their strength. They were the ones who created the most authoritative rankings in Grand Xiao, and the heavenly fate rankings were also determined by them. Old Man Tianji waved his hands to the countless silhouettes below, with a smile on his face. That smile seemed to have never changed even after 1,000 years, yet it still caused people to feel a sense of familiarity. At the instant Old Man Tianji waved his hands, the crowd spontaneously moved. Countless people moved to the 2 sides, as though they wanted to give up the vast space in the middle. Very swiftly, the space on both sides became more and more congested. There were even some people who had already moved ahead, while the space below the 99 steps gradually widened. But there were still many silhouettes remaining. There were young men, middle-aged men, and even old men. All of them were here for the heavenly fate rankings. Other than the sound of footsteps, there was no other sound in this space. It was as though there was a formless order in this space. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the silhouettes in the air, as well as the crowd on his left and right. Their gazes were all fixated on him. They were all thinking, who would be the one to become famous under the heavens this time around? Their gazes seemed to be searching for those who they felt were the most outstanding. And among these people, the gazes of Chen Wang, Shirpatian, and the rest were the most concentrated. It was as though their names were already destined to resound throughout Grand Xiao. Junior brother, you can do it. Luo Huan walked to the side of Qin Wentian, as she gave Qin Wentian a big hug. The softness of her embrace caused one's heart to palpitate. Qin Wentian could only smile bitterly. Bai Lu Yi hugged Bai Lu Jing as well. After which, she turned to look at Qin Wentian and similarly stepped forward, giving him a hug as well. This caused Qin Wentian to feel extremely overwhelmed. The top 3 rankers of the heavenly fate rankings, I'm filled with anticipation, Bai Lu Yi spoke in a low voice, as she stealthily walked to the side with Luo Huan and the rest. Qin Wentian, Ouyang Guangsheng, Bai Lu Jing, Chu Mang, and Fan Lu stood together in a row, yet they didn't attract too much attention. Even for those who were acquainted with them, how could they stand a chance? Although these people had once displayed their talent in certain places, this place was the ancient kingdom of Grand Xiao. This time around, the ranking battle for the heavenly fate rankings had gathered the most outstanding Yuanfu cultivators of Grand Xiao. Mo Qingcheng was a beauty whose beauty could topple empires. No matter where she went, she would always attract the attention of the crowd. At this moment, she walked to a spot not far away from Qin Wentian, with Zhan Chen following behind her. His eyes were filled with a sinister coldness as he stared in the direction of Qin Wentian. Luo He, who was far away in the air, frowned when she saw this scene. Her eyes flickered with a cold light as she stared at Qin Wentian. "Isn't that maiden so beautiful?" someone exclaimed in admiration. There were simply too many beauties participating in the heavenly fate rankings, yet Mo Qincheng was able to cause the gazes of the crowd to be fixated on her with just a single glance, unable to shift away. "Who is she?" someone asked. Mo Qincheng from the Pill Emperor Hall. Indeed, the rumors are true. No wonder even a character like Hua Taishu wants to woo her. Behind her is Zhan Chen. I heard that Zhan Chen has cultivated a fearsome cultivation art and is currently a seated candidate. He definitely wouldn't be able to escape from the top 10 rankings, and even the top 3. He has always been wooing Mo Qincheng, yet he was rejected. Countless people had their own thoughts. They hoped that time would pass faster, so that they would be able to witness the magnificence of the generations. Finally, other than those participating in the ranking battle, the crowd left the central region. Old man Tianji gazed downwards as he slowly spoke. A few thousand years ago, the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia was destroyed. However, the ancient kingdom of Grand Xia still continues to gather the spiritual qi of our vast Grand Xia. Hence, once every 3 years, the young elites of Grand Xia would come here to seize the ancient luck and become heavenly mandate characters. I've observed that the fate of Grand Xia has already been established. Perhaps, the destiny of heavenly mandate is already within your grasp. Today, let us see who will rise and fall under the heavens in the future. Chapter 355. Old man Tianji's voice reverberated throughout the heavens and earth, as though it contained a magical power within, causing the hearts of countless people to surge with emotions. Even those who came to spectate felt their blood boiling. The fate of Grand Xia had already been decided. Would someone with the heavens mandate be born? In the future of Grand Xia, who would rise and fall? Old man Tianji's countenance was as calm as ever as he stared at the countless silhouettes below. This time around, the number of participants was the same as before, over 10,000 people. The majority of these 10,000 people had a cultivation base at the 9th level of Yuanfu. If they didn't have enough strength, they wouldn't even bother to participate in the ranking battle. Although it seemed like a lot, in the perspective of the entire Grand Xia, 10,000 people was merely a drop of water in the ocean. Not only that, these people would continue to be eliminated. First, they had to obtain a ticket to participate in the ranking battle. At this moment, old man Tianji spoke again. "Now, all of you can ascend the ancient pathway and sound the drums at the peak. Those who can't sound the drums 9 times, you are free to leave." Sounding the drums, there were too many people, there was a need to eliminate many. It was extremely difficult to sound the 9 gigantic drums. If one couldn't sound the drums 9 times, they wouldn't even have the qualifications to enter Grand Xia. Not only that, the drums could be struck continuously, but it was impossible to stop the sound of the drums. If the sound of the drums was interrupted, it would be useless. Over 10,000 people stepped out one after another, ascending the 99 steps. Their expressions were solemn, and not a single one of them soared into the air. They all ascended the ancient pathway, one step at a time. This was a sign of respect to the ancient pathway. Finally, the first person ascended the 99 steps, arriving in front of the gigantic drum in the middle. His long robes fluttered in the wind as a powerful aura gushed forth from him. He maintained a distance of 1 step away from the gigantic drum, and his entire body seemed to be clad in a layer of divine armor, exuding a fearsome sharpness. It was as though he himself was a divine weapon. "It's Wang Ju, he's the first to sound the drum." Is he trying to tell everyone that he, Wang Ju, wants to contend for the number 1 position? The gazes of the crowd landed on this person. Wang Ju, a heavens chosen from the Wang clan of the War Continent. He was ranked number 6 on the Heavenly Fate rankings, and was one of the strongest contenders for the top 3 positions. At this moment, Wang Ju's fist seemed to have turned into a silvery white color as he punched out. In an instant, a loud boom rang out as the sound of a drum reverberated through the air. A terrifying astral wind blew at Wang Ju's long hair, and the drum continued to beat 9 times. A terrifying force bombarded Wang Ju's body, but he stood there unmoving, like an ancient pine tree. Since we are fighting for the heavenly will, we will start from the sound of the drum. How can we fall behind others? As Wang Ju's voice fell, before the 9 echoes ended, his fist once again lashed out with a terrifying sharpness. The crowd could only see a terrifying force slamming into Wang Ju's body. The drum sounded 3 more times, but Wang Ju's fist aura blasted out again. The violent air currents seemed to want to lift Wang Ju up. Another punch was thrown out. He took a step forward and stood in front of the drum, allowing the terrifying wind to blow on his body. His heart was still the same. The people at the side looked at Wang Ju. They had been prepared to sound the drums, but they seemed to have forgotten to do so. Finally, Wang Ju's drum sounded out 18 times, reverberating unceasingly throughout the heavens and earth. 18 echoes of the drum, how powerful. According to the historical records, in the ranking battles of Grand Xia, 18 echoes of the drum were already enough to lock the top 10. The hearts of the spectators mused. This Wang Ju had already sounded the drum when he first joined the Heavenly Fate sect, letting everyone in the world witness his determination. Above the ancient pathway, those from the Wang clan all had smiles on their faces. Wang Ju had already started from the moment he joined the Heavenly Fate sect. Since they were fighting for the Heavenly Fate sect, they would start from the sound of the drum. After Wang Ju, more and more people sounded their drums. However, the majority of them were below the 15th echo mark. Only occasionally, there would be a few who managed to break past the 15th echo mark. And among these people, there were actually quite a few who were already rankers on the Heavenly Fate rankings. As for those who managed to reach the 18th echo mark, there were no more. With over 10,000 people, even if there were 9 gigantic drums, it would still take over 1,000 people to sound each drum. It was extremely time-consuming, yet the crowd was incomparably quiet, as though they were extremely patient. Every 3 years, this was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Even if it was just the first sound of the drum, they would still cherish it. From the moment the drum sounded out, the hearts of the geniuses were already filled with the desire to compete against each other. Naturally, there were also many who didn't manage to sound the drum 9 times. Their voices were filled with boundless disappointment as they left unwillingly. They came to participate in the Heavenly Fate rankings with boundless yearning in their hearts, yet they were all eliminated the moment they joined the Heavenly Fate sect. Naturally, they were filled with reluctance, but reality was always so cruel. After which, another person sounded the drum 17 times, causing many to sigh in admiration. So it turned out that this person was none other than the 9th ranker, Li Yu from the Thousand Ju Alliance. To think that half of the participants didn't even manage to sound the drum 9 times. How terrifying are those 9 gigantic drums? Fan Lo silently mused as he stared at the gigantic drum. The number of people who were eliminated actually exceeded half of the participants. This ratio was truly shocking. After all, there weren't many who came here just to make up the numbers. All of them were extremely confident in their own strength. 19 echoes. At this moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out. Fan Li's mouth was still open as he stared at a silhouette in the air. Half of the participants didn't even manage to sound the drum 9 times. Emperor Wind. Qin Wentian stared at the person who spoke. It's Emperor Azure. The others exclaimed in admiration. The 5th ranker on the Heavenly Fate rankings was none other than Emperor Azure. His surname was also Wang, and he had surpassed Wang Ju, breaking the record of Wang Ju. Emperor Azure is so powerful. I wonder if there's anyone who can break his record. Ouyang Zheng also went up, but he only managed to sound the drum 17 times. Qin Wentian glanced at the person beside Emperor Wind, who had also managed to sound the drum 17 times. Originally, he should have been the most dazzling, yet he was suppressed by Emperor Azure. Ouyang Zheng was a heavens chosen from the Ouyang aristocrat clan, and was ranked number 10 on the Heavenly Fate rankings. Although the drum sounds couldn't be used to determine the final rankings, it was still a form of competition. Especially when Wang Ju took the lead, no one was willing to fall behind. Next, the more powerful characters made their moves. Yang Fan from the Star-Seizing Manor, 16 echoes. Zhao Lai from the Sky Ember sect, 16 echoes. Hua Feng from the Hua clan, 15 echoes. Duan Qingshan, 16 echoes. Sherpatian is about to make his move. At this moment, the gazes of the countless spectators converged onto a single person. This person was none other than Sherpatian from the Sher clan. Sherpatian made his move, sounding the drum 20 times, once again setting a new record. As expected of someone from the Sher clan who possesses the bloodline of an ancient demonic beast. How terrifying, the spectators mused. In this ranking battle, there was no doubt that Chen Wang and Sherpatian were the two most popular contenders. Great Solar Chen Wang and Sherpatian from the Sher clan, who could contend against the two of them? Black-robed figure. At this moment, Qin Wentian noticed a black-robed figure walking up the stairs. His eyes flickered involuntarily. Was this the same black-robed figure that cultivated the devil art? Devil might gushed forth from the black-robed figure as he blasted out with his palm. The sound of the drum trembled violently as the 9 reverberations continued unceasingly. However, this didn't attract the attention of the spectators. Only when the black-robed figure sounded the drum 15 times did the spectators turn their gazes over. The 16th and 17th reverberations caused the spectators to turn their gazes in that direction. However, at this moment, the black-robed figure actually stopped and lowered his arms. He clearly still had some energy remaining, yet he chose to give up on it. After which, he slowly walked forward, as though he didn't care about the result at all. He actually cultivated the devil art. I've never heard of such a person before. He must be a dark horse. Not only that, he's clad in black. It's obvious that he's intentionally concealing his identity. Chen Wang, Great Solar Chen Wang has finally made his move. The crowd saw another figure walking up the stairs. It was none other than Chen Wang, ranked number 2 on the Heavenly Fate rankings. This time around, Hua Taishu didn't participate, so who would be Chen Wang's opponent? The rays of the sun were incomparably dazzling. Chen Wang didn't disappoint the spectators. He was the same as Sherpatian, sounding the drum 20 times. Mu Feng actually made it here. I heard that 3 days ago, he narrowly escaped death. Only to see Mu Feng standing in front of a gigantic drum on the left. After sounding the drum 9 times, he continued on his way, not caring about what others thought of him. Although this was the case, nobody dared to underestimate Mu Feng. What he feared the most was poison. Even for Chen Wang and Sherpatian, if they were to face Mu Feng directly, they would have to be extremely careful. After that, there was another person who attracted the attention of the crowd. That person was none other than Situpa, a heavens chosen from the Sword Extinction sect. At this moment, Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, staring at a spot not far away from him. Mo Qingqing seemed to have sensed his gaze as a mischievous smile flashed in her eyes. After which, she continued moving forward. Qin Wentian and the others also walked out and climbed the ancient steps of Great Xia step by step. They lined up in a row and stood in front of the giant drums. It's Shan Chen, he's about to act. He's following behind Mo Qingqing. It's evident that his infatuation with her has yet to change. Who is that female? She's actually so beautiful as well. Although she's a little inferior compared to Mo Qingqing, she's like a snow lotus on an icy mountain, surpassing many other beauties. Everyone turned to look at Yun Mengyi. Although Yun Mengyi was famous in the unmatched realm, in the entire Grand Xia, only a few knew of her. Xian Yan also went up at this time. What a feast of beauties! Mo Qingqing, Yunmengyi, and Xian Yan actually went up at the same time. Moreover, there was still Zhan Chen. Other than them, the others in the middle were a complete killjoy. Qin Wentian, Ouyang Guangsheng, Chu Mang, Fan Lu, and Bai Lu Jing. A total of 9 people, just nice enough to occupy the 9 drums. Fatty, I want to see how many drums you can achieve this time around. Xian Yan spoke in a low voice. Evidently, her words were directed at Fan Lu. Fan Lu felt a little guilty. The situation this time around was different from the previous time. What made the spectators even more interested was that these 9 people actually made their moves at the same time. Instantly, the 9 drums sounded out in unison. Chaotic currents of qi swept across the heavens and earth. How terrifying was the might of Qin Wentian's fist. 9 consecutive drum sounds rang out. However, no one paid any attention to him. The majority of the spectators were all focused on Zhan Chen and Mo Qingqing. Occasionally, there would also be some who would pay attention to Yunmengyi and Xian Yan. The spectators only saw Zhan Chen's entire body bathed in a golden glow as he slashed out with his sword. Not long after, the drum sounds had already reached the 15th drum sound. Not only that, his aura was still as imposing as before. Evidently, he still had some energy left over. Mo Qingqing had already stopped. She only sounded out the 9th drum sound before stopping. However, she didn't leave the area. The spectators behind her didn't rush her either. Taking a few more glances at her was also a form of enjoyment. Fan Lu, Chu Mang, Ouyang Guangsheng and Bai Lu Jing all stopped. The ones who had the most drum sounds were Bai Lu Jing and Chu Mang, with a total of 16 drum sounds. Xian Yan mustered all her strength and sounded out the 17th drum sound, causing the spectators to sigh in admiration. However, they soon discovered that there were still 3 people who hadn't stopped. Even for the beautiful maiden on the right, she actually managed to sound out the 18th drum sound. As she slashed out with her sword, it was as though she was born from the heavens. What's going on? Why are the participants of this round so strong? Xian Yan sounded out the 17th drum sound, while Yunmengyi sounded out the 18th drum sound. Zhan Chen and Qin Wentian had also sounded out the 18th drum sound. However, the 2 of them were actually still continuing. The sound of the drum reverberated in the air, as though they were competing against each other. Zhan Chen coldly laughed as he slashed out with all 9 swords. With a roar of rage, the 19th drum sound rang out. It was as though he wanted to break today's record, the 20th drum sound. But as the sound of the drum sound rang out, the towering power contained within it caused Zhan Chen to close his eyes. Qin Wentian's countenance turned solemn as the blood in his body surged. His strength was unparalleled as he punched out once more. It was as though the boundless energy of the heavens and earth had converged together, slamming into the gigantic drum sound. Boom! The 19th drum sound rang out. How is this possible? Expressions of disbelief appeared on the faces of the spectators. This was the first time they had seen 2 participants who had surpassed the 18th drum sound clash against each other. Not only that, they were competing against Zhan Chen. Chapter 356. Who was this person? The gazes of the spectators landed on Qin Wentian, their hearts filled with bewilderment. The majority of them had never heard of this person before. Not only that, the aura radiating from him was only at the peak of the 7th level of Yuanfu. To be able to sound the drum 19 times, there was no need to doubt the strength of his will. Not only that, his attack power must also be incomparably tyrannical, and he must also have a fearsome defense. Zhan Chen's countenance was ice-cold as he swept his gaze over to Qin Wentian. The golden light in his eyes was incomparably terrifying. At this moment, Mo Qingqing was still spectating from the side. Not only that, how could he, Zhang Chen, be defeated? Even if it was just the sound of the drum, there was no way he would lose to Qin Wentian. Releasing his astral souls, Zhang Chen's entire body was engulfed by a terrifying golden tempest, converging into the form of the punishing heavens and earth sword. Rumbling sounds echoed out, breaking through everything in its path, as it once again slammed into the gigantic drum. Boom! After the 20th reverberation, the fearsome might was reflected back, shattering the golden armor on Zhang Chen's body. His heart trembled violently. He knew that if the drum continued to reverberate, he would definitely be injured. However, this reverberation didn't stop. He turned his gaze onto Qin Wentian as a cold light flickered in his eyes. However, he only saw Qin Wentian stretching out his finger and pressing it downwards. A terrifying might broke through everything as the reverberations of the drum reverberated through the air. Boom! The heavens and earth trembled. Similarly, 20 reverberations, tying the record. This single reverberation caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble. Qin Wentian felt the terrifying might sweeping over him, yet he didn't move an inch. His heart was as calm as still water, as though he was back in the royal capital of Grand Xia. Blood dyed the heavens and earth red, as the boundless will of the spectators gushed into his mind. How terrifying! Zhang Chen hesitated for a moment. At this moment, the reverberation stopped, and the moment he hesitated, he had already lost his chance. However, 20 reverberations, tying the record, was still incomparably dazzling. He had achieved the same feat as Chen Wang and Shirpatian. Although this didn't represent anything, at the very least, it allowed the spectators to see the magnificence of Zhang Chen. How can your lowly heart win against my undying will? As the sound of his voice faded, the crowd only saw Qin Wentian jabbing out with his finger again. Runic inscriptions congregated in the air, transforming into a vortex that pierced into the gigantic drum. Boom! 21 echoes rang out, breaking the record. This sound, along with Qin Wentian's voice, echoed throughout the world, causing the hearts of countless people to tremble. This person had provoked and looked down on Zhang Chen. His heart was resolute. How can your lowly heart win against my undying will? Although this was an entrance ticket, he still wanted to win. Not only that, he was standing together with Zhang Chen, and Mo Qingqing was just beside him. How could he lose to Zhang Chen? Qin Wentian stepped forward, followed by the people around him, smiles on their faces as they walked forward, leaving only their backs to the spectators. This young man's demeanor was extraordinary, but sadly, his cultivation base was too low. He was only at the 7th level of Yuanfu, yet he dared to challenge Zhang Chen. At this point, there weren't many people who had yet to sound the drum. Moreover, those experts who were ranked at the top had already sounded the drum. Following the ancient roads on both sides, the crowd moved forward. Along the wide corridor, people squeezed against each other as they rushed forward. By the time the drums were sounded, half of the people had been eliminated. What awaited them next would be even more dangerous. They would have to face the river of life and death. The river of life and death was a true test of life and death. Those who passed would live, and those who fell would die. Since ancient times, it was unknown how many heroes had fallen in the river of life and death. After Qin Wentian and the rest ascended the staircase, they could see the river of life and death. Or perhaps, it would be more appropriate to call it the lake of life and death. The width of the river of life and death was the same as the ancient staircase of Grand Xia, and could accommodate over 1,000 people. As for the length of the river, it was over 100,000 meters. To Wu Xiu, this distance wasn't too far. Any one of these geniuses would be able to cross it in a short amount of time. However, to cross the river of life and death, it wouldn't be so easy to cross it with thousands of people. What was even more terrifying was that the river of life and death was filled with corrosive energy. Yuanfu cultivators would die without a doubt if they were to fall into it. The crowd only saw Old Man Tianji and the rest of the experts from the 36 transcendent powers flying through the air, arriving at the other end of the river of life and death. Once, this river of life and death was the heavenly mirror of Grand Xiao. As long as one stood guard at the other end of the river of life and death, they would be able to defend against 10,000 enemies. Old man Tianji stared ahead. At this moment, everyone was already facing the river of life and death. A distance of 100 meters might seem short, but it was destined that many would die here. Old man Tianji lit up a thin incense stick. It was so thin and short that it would burn out within 100 breaths of time. However, these people needed to cross the river of life and death before the incense stick burned out. At the very least, they needed to cross 100 meters in an instant. Under the circumstances where so many people were traveling together, crossing 100 meters in an instant, one could very well imagine how difficult it would be. They would definitely fight against each other, resulting in chaos. The incense stick has been burned. Those who fail to cross the river of life and death will be eliminated. Old man Tianji calmly spoke. Move out. Let's go. Qin Wentian roared. The thousands of experts roared in anger as they dashed out, their speed as fast as lightning. An incense stick's worth of time, a distance of 100,000 meters. They had to maintain their fastest speed at all times, they couldn't afford to waste even the slightest bit of time. How could they not advance with all their might? Thousands of people were madly sprinting across the river of life and death. The impact of this scene was simply too great, too shocking. Some of them had seen the might of 10,000 horses galloping across the river of life and death before. But right now, it was actually 10,000 spears galloping across the river of life and death. The terrifying astral winds in the air felt as though they could tear people apart. Not only that, countless terrifying auras gushed forth, causing chaos to fill the air. There were already many people who had launched their attacks. Scram! Someone behind Qin Wentian roared in rage. A sword slashed out, as fast as lightning. At the same time, that person stepped on a flying sword, wanting to flee. I will guard the rear, you guys move forward. Qin Wentian roared. With a flip of his palm, a terrifying demonic imprint blasted out, colliding with the ancient sword. His eyes flashed with coldness as he frenziedly waved his palms. A moment later, numerous terrifying rocks shot out, blocking the path of those behind him. At the same time, there were also people launching attacks in front of Qin Wentian and the others, blocking their path. In fact, above Qin Wentian's group, there were even people unleashing terrifying attacks, wanting to force them into the river of life and death, causing them to lose their chance. Chaos, the situation at this moment was extremely chaotic. Accompanied by a light splash sound, someone fell into the river of life and death as he screamed in agony. In an instant, his body corroded, turning into white bones. After which, even his bones were corroded away, vanishing from sight. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over, feeling a sense of terror in his heart. This was only the first stage of the trial and it was already so cruel. How intense was the competition between geniuses? Qin Wentian cast a glance to the side. At this moment, the situation was too chaotic, it was extremely difficult to even move. Everyone only cared about rushing forward. However, he discovered that Imo Qingqing was still fine. Maybe it was because of her beauty that could topple empires, but no one dared to act ruthlessly against her. Maybe this was the innate advantage of beauties. There was no enmity of life and death, it was just a matter of blocking the path. As long as Imo Qingqing didn't take the initiative to offend others, how could those experts bear to destroy a flower like her? Chu Mang and Fan Lu stood guard at the front, golden arrows hovering above their heads. Fan Li's bloodline was fully activated, bathing in golden flames, resembling a fiery god of war. Pang! Someone retaliated, wanting to block their path. Fan Lu and Chu Mang coldly snorted. Chu Mang broke through the attack, while Fan Li's arrow shot towards the person who attacked. That person wanted to deflect the arrow, but the arrow suddenly changed directions. His countenance drastically changed, and he abruptly turned his body, only to be met with the arrows of Chu Mang and Fan Lu. Piercing sounds rang out as the person's head was pierced through by the arrow, falling from the sky. Given the speed of Fan Lu and the rest, they would be able to catch up. They wouldn't take the initiative to kill others to block their path, but if someone intentionally tried to block their path, they could only do so. After consuming the limit break pellet, Chu Mang's cultivation base had already reached the pinnacle of Yuanfu. Peng, at this moment, a terrifying pressure bore down on them. It was as though numerous ancient mountains were descending from the heavens, pressing down on Chu Mang, Fan Lu, and the rest. Not only that, in front of them, there were also ancient mountains appearing. Situpa. Qin Wentian inclined his head, only to see Situpa standing in the air, clad in astral stone armor, incomparably resplendent as he launched an attack towards them. With a flicker of his silhouette, Qin Wentian soared up into the air, lifting his palms to shatter the ancient mountains. Only to see a sword cascading down from the skies, it was none other than Situpa's sword of extinction. And at the same instant, a gravitational force bore down on Qin Wentian and the rest. A gigantic leg descended from the heavens, containing a towering might within, enveloping Qin Wentian, Chu Mang, and the rest within it. Duan Qin Shan. Qin Wentian's countenance was ice cold. Situpa had actually joined forces with Duan Qin Shan to launch a sneak attack on them. The combat prowess of these two was extremely high. Duan Qin Shan was ranked number 25 in the Heavenly Fate rankings, and Situpa definitely had the same level of combat prowess. Chu Mang's great axe cleaved downwards, while Ouyang Guangxing's body was enveloped in flames and lightning. How could Zhang Chen miss this opportunity? His silhouette flickered as a golden sword slashed towards Qin Wentian. In that instant, they were attacked from the front and rear. However, at this moment, a towering devilish might gushed forth, akin to a bolt of lightning. A black devil spear pierced through everything, aiming for Zhang Chen. Zhang Chen's countenance drastically changed, he stared at the black-robed figure as he roared in rage, "It's you again." Yunmengyi also acted. She dashed toward Situpa, as a terrifying frost energy gushed out from her body, wanting to freeze the entire space. Chaos, the entire space was in a state of chaos. The people behind them would also launch a sneak attack, before fleeing from their sight. It would be best if all of them were eliminated together. The gazes of many in the crowd also noticed this battle, as they couldn't help but feel bewildered. Who would have thought that the person who broke the record would have so much influence? He had so many enemies and so many friends. Those who wanted to destroy them were all extraordinary characters. Zhang Chen, Duan Qin Shan, Situpa. At this moment, a star-seizing palm imprint appeared, grabbing towards them, causing the expressions on the faces of the crowd to stiffen. Yang Fan was one of them. Two people from the star-seizing manor simultaneously attacked Qin Wentian. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.